Township Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin by asking you to join me to stand for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Benny, may we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Haywood?
Here.
Mr. Zurich?
Here.
Mr. Epic?
Here.
Mr. Ritchie's excused. Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Great, thank you very much. We have a quorum, and so we will begin our meeting. Gentlemen, we have an agenda that was published online. It's also available here at the table out front. If we could have a review of the agenda, any changes, modifications?
Yes, I'll move to approve the agenda, but I would delete from that the consideration of the proposed rules of procedure. We've got plenty to do this evening. It's going to be a long meeting. And I got through most all of those, and now I'm not seeing it on the agenda.
It's number 6 under new business.
Oh, yeah, so small. But I'd move to strike that number 6. There's plenty to discuss. We're going to have plenty else to do this evening, and I have some objections that I'll probably send to the
I'll
consultant's
support that,
office.
but does that cause any trouble for any other departments or any?
No.
So I guess I support it.
I think the only thing is that the township board is waiting for us to adopt those rules before they will proceed with changing the ordinance with respect to their authority to appoint and seat alternates. But we've gone a long time without them, and I think it's better that we take the time to do the rules of procedure correctly.
So we have a motion to amend the agenda to remove item number 6, rules of procedure. We have support. I would ask Mr. Wallace if instead we use the word strike, if we postpone it ideally to the next meeting.
That's fine.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? With that, we have a motion to support an amended agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
We have an agenda. I'd like to welcome tonight Benny Bono, new with the Carlisle Wortman team. Appreciate you joining the team, Kenny. Benny will be working along with Megan, helping put our packets together, answering questions, spending time in the township on a weekly basis. So we appreciate you with the ZBA and also with the township. And then we've got an old friend here, Dick Carlisle. Appreciate Dick. Megan is out of town, so thank you, Dick, and your team for putting together kind of a more robust package than we typically will see. I know you've got an announcement, something that's going on with the town.
I do. This is more for the benefit not only of the board members, but the public. We had a hacking incident. I'm not sure exactly where it emanated from, but obviously it's a unique approach to hacking. We have seen it actually elsewhere, but letters were sent out to all of the applicants on township letterhead under the chair's name, making certain representations about their variance request and indicating, asking the applicants to pay a fee of over $4,000 to allow their variance to move forward. This obviously was not sent by the township. It was obviously not sent by Mr. Epic with his name on this letter. It was on township letterhead. And I will tell you that this has actually occurred in some other communities. So there's some very...
It's occurred to Jim in another community.
Yeah, it happened to myself.
It
and
did
a
happen to
client
Jim
in West
elsewhere
Bloomfield.
on
They
his
mentioned it at our
representation.
training.
So this is a very serious thing, and if anybody in the township who is applying for anything ever gets a letter like that, do not, the first thing you should do is just call the township offices and ask if it's legitimate, because it will not be, you know that. But we would never send you a letter demanding money, other than from a situation where an escrow account might need to be, replenished or whatever under official correspondence, but you should always check. So this came by email. It wouldn't ever come from email by the township from that standpoint. If you ever have any question, don't do anything unless you check with the township first, okay?
For obvious reasons, we don't know, because we get the packets directly, but is the information posted on the township website? So-
The fact that this happened?
No,
No, yes, it
No,
is.
the
And that's where
information-
they got it from.
yes, so we should probably redact from those contact information of applicants.
I spoke with the supervisor, and he's starting new
Okay.
processes like that to, modernize our techniques. Obviously, the crooks are getting smarter and quicker. It happened to a client of mine in West Bloomfield, actually paid, because it was over the holidays, and he was worried about missing a meeting, paid $3,500, which was instantly gone. So I know that the township's working with the sheriff's department. Anybody here tonight, if you haven't already talked to the township and you did receive a letter, an email like that, make sure that maybe we have a sign-up sheet, which I'll talk about in a minute, but write your name and be specific that you received that, because we want to provide that information to the township and then ultimately probably the sheriff's department to follow through on this. So hopefully no one paid. I apologize, certainly didn't misrepresent anything from myself, obviously, or the township, but appreciate your patience with that. Tell your friends, because, this may be an ongoing thing. So, thank you, Dick, I appreciate that. Mr. Supervisor, anything to add to that, or?
No, I
Good.
just wanted to make sure that that got out, and also please understand that we are working with Oakland County Sheriff to try to go after these people and find out who they are in a shutdown. But we are also gonna be looking forward, we will be redacting the information so that that type of information is there. I mean, it's all online, it's all public, so it's not even like they hacked our system. They just went into the normal public folders and found it and put it together. So we're gonna make it as much as we can, far more difficult for them to be able to try to pull this again.
Thank you. Sir?
Yeah, we had one of the emails, and we contacted the township as well as the sheriff's office. I'm in IT, I'm in cybersecurity, so I know a little bit about it, but could the township do something to inform better the public, rather, about this? Just because we can say in the meeting not to pay,
Right.
but what the techniques they use is pressure, right? And people react to pressure.
Yeah.
I gotta pay now, and so there goes $4,800, $3,500, whatever, gone.
Right.
So if we could do something on the website, on the township, something to educate our people.
Right on the application, perhaps.
Well, all the way around. So I'm sure the town will work with that. I appreciate that. We'll follow up on that and get the word out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Sorry for anybody's trouble or stress with that. I'm sure it's always stressful. With that, we've got, as Mr. Wallace pointed out, we've got a very full agenda tonight. So we'll work kind of in a very organized method. We'll take our time with every applicant. We want to make sure that everybody is heard and we ask all the right questions and ultimately come to decisions. Before we get into new business, two housekeeping things. One is we have a sign-up sheet at the doorway. Everybody who speaks tonight, if you could sign up and give us your name so that we get it spelling and address and everything correct in the minutes, we appreciate that. Anybody that does speak, we'll ask you to come up to the lectern tonight. What you'll do is approach the lectern as I introduce each case, give us your name, your address, and then we'll get into in a minute how we walk through each case. But give us your name nice and clear so that we get it correct in the minutes. Before we jump into unfinished business and then new business, we do have an opportunity for public comment. This is a chance where anybody in the audience or anybody online may approach the township, speak to the ZBA, really therefore to the whole community, and anything that's not on the agenda. So if there's anybody here tonight that wants to give any updates, anything that's not on the agenda, now would be the time. Seeing no one in the room, is there anybody online that wants to talk about anything not on the agenda tonight? Looks like everybody's here for one of the items. So we'll close public comment and we'll move right into unfinished business and then new business. Just a little bit of rules of the road. We've got 6 cases tonight, which is a little more than normal, but we'll make it through. We appreciate people's patience with that. What we'll do is I'll call every case into the record. Everyone has a case number, a name, an address, and then a description of the variances that are being sought tonight. We'll explain what those variances are by nature. The ordinance has different sections. You're applying for something that goes outside of one of the standard sections. What we'll then do is ask the applicant to come up, give us your name and address again, and then just walk us through your case. We have a packet. It's been published online. We'll show it tonight. But whether you're putting on an addition or moving a driveway or, whatever the case, walk us through what it is. What our board is seeking to do, and some of this is in the application, is to walk through our ordinance criteria of exactly what practical difficulty is going on with your property, may be unique to your property. Help us walk through there. We'll bring it back to the board. The different board members will ask questions. Again, our goal is to have a conversation to really just understand what it is you're asking for and understand what that practical difficulty is. At that point, we'll open it up for a public comment, public hearing. We'll ask again anybody in the audience, anybody online, or perhaps people have sent in emails or letters about your case. We'll hear those, try to understand all those questions or concerns. We'll close that part of the public hearing, and we'll bring it back to the applicant, back to the board to ask any questions. And ultimately, our goal is to understand your case, understand how it applies to our ordinance, and then make some type of a decision based on that. All right? Did I cover everything, gentlemen? With that, I would like to move on to item F, unfinished business, and this is case number 25-017. Timothy Warner, petitioner, requesting a rear yard setback variance from section 5.06A4, table 5.062, to allow a 45-foot variance request when a 75-foot is required in order to construct a new detached accessory structure. And this will be at the address of 9364 Ellis Road, parcel number 0807100025, which is in the R1R rural residential portion of our township. This was on our October 1st, 2025 meeting. The applicant presented it at that time. It was postponed. Now the applicant is coming back under unfinished business. So, Mr. Warner, are you online or here?
Excuse me, Chairman Epic.
I am online, I apologize.
Just give me 1 minute. Mr. Hayward had a question. I apologize.
Yes,
Go
I
ahead.
wasn't here for the previous case, so I don't have any familiarity with the case because I didn't sit in on
Sure.
any of the details of any of that.
Why don't
so-
we introduce Mr. Warner? He can
Okay.
walk us through, and I can give a background of the history of October and then coming forward, if that works.
Is that, I mean, is
Yeah,
that-
I think
is
it's
that gonna be
appropriate
fine?
because it makes sense.
I think that,
So, go
I
ahead,
think the
Dick.
reason the case was tabled, Mr. Warner was in the process of combining the parcels,
Okay.
which changed some of the dynamics.
So, Mr. Hayward, maybe one thing you're bringing up, and because we talked about this at our ZBA training recently, for if an alternate was there, they see the case through, as Mr. Carlisle said, my belief is, and we'll talk to Mr. Warner, that the request remains the same, so I think you'll get all the fresh information. It was essentially tabled because it was two adjacent parcels, and the way the application read is essentially the accessory structure would have been on a standalone parcel, which isn't allowed. The applicant, I believe, has combined the parcels. We now have one parcel, so now an accessory structure could be placed on a property with a principal home.
Okay.
All right, so that's, I think, where we're at, but Mr. Warner, go ahead and give us your name and address again, and then maybe catch us up to speed.
Yes, you're correct. Timothy Warner, 9364 Ellis Road, Clarkston, Michigan, 48348. And yes, you're correct with everything you said. I did combine the parcels. That's where we left off because it was a vacant parcel with not a primary structure, which I believe made the east, property line I think, side property line. So I think I'm only looking for, instead of 75 feet, I think it's 50 feet. Due to the placement of trees and the topography of the land and the hills, everything we discussed before, an ideal spot for the structure is, exactly where it is, which is, I think, 45 feet from the property line. So again, asking for permission for a 5-foot variance.
Actually, a 30-foot variance, correct? The requirement is 75 feet. You're asking for it to be placed at 45 foot, which would be a 30-foot variance request, not 5 foot. My math right?
You're correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a.
Yes, but again, this is more your rules than mine, but I thought when I combined the lot, Bradley Lake Road became the frontage road, which would make that the side boundary. Is that true or no?
Well, you now are on a corner lot.
That's an interesting question.
It's addressed on Ellis Road.
We did bring that up
Yeah.
last time. Is this a new application?
No.
Or is this the same application?
Well, the address of the application is Ellis Road, and that remains the front, that will then remain the identified front yard. So it is a rear yard variance. So the fact that it's not a Radley Lake Road, I think what Mr. Warner might be indicating is the frontage now is on Radley Lake Road. I mean, technically, it's, if the address were on Radley Lake Road, we would consider that to be, that could be the frontage, the front yard, and then it would be a side yard setback variance, but it is not. The frontage is on Ellis Road, the address is on Ellis Road, and so this is a
Rear yard?
rear yard setback.
And what
variance.
would the side yard requirement be?
It would be 50 feet.
It was advertised as a rear yard setback.
Yeah. So,
If we looked at Radley Lake being a front yard, then we'd also have potentially a request for an additional variance which would be an accessory unit in front of the primary
that's
home.
correct, yeah. So, I mean, this could be considered a more, to some extent, a more minimal variance request, because he would only be asking for one variance, which is from a rear yard setback than a side yard setback.
And even if we did say Radley was the front yard, there'd still need to be a dimensional variance.
Correct. Yeah, one way or the other.
Okay. Mr. Warner, could you tell us a little bit more, and we visited the property, but could you tell us a little bit more about, if I was to approach it from the point of view of, why can't we just do it at 75 foot? Tell me more about the topography, more about the trees. What is preventing, other than maybe views, other than convenience, other than, something specific? What about the land prevents me from putting that at 75 foot?
Sorry, hello?
Yep, can you hear us all right?
Yeah, sorry, I keep having a bad connection. My apologies. And again, my apologies for not being present. We're, on the family vacation here. There is, unfortunately, this is an older site plan. I did submit a new site plan. Obviously, it didn't make it into the renderings here. But yes, I do have a new site plan that has trees placement that are not on the site plan we're looking at. And again, along with the topography of the hill, again, it's kind of set up where I have the shed at the top of a hill rather than, on the, if I had to go 75 feet, I would be on a, incline of the hill.
Okay. All right, I will we'll bring it back to our board now to ask additional questions or have conversation about Mr. Hayward.
Yes, I'd like to know if the structure could fit into that fenced-in area.
No, ideally, no. It's kind of too small of an area, and that's where, we have, cars coming and going in there.
And there's no way to move that directly forward? I'm looking at the kind of that topography map. It looks somewhat flat there. But you can't, there's no way to move it possibly forward from that, from the rear yard at all,
No.
because what would be the reason?
Sorry, gentlemen, I keep losing you.
I'm sorry, I'll jump in just a sec. What would prevent you from moving that more towards Ellis? Mr. Hayward points out that the topography looks, we do have a topography map, looks, fairly gentle there. There's a little bit of a slope, but may not be insurmountable.
Yeah, the tree placement, again, that's not on that plan. I do have a different plan that I could bring in Monday. I presented it to Brian a couple weeks ago. I have a whole new plan and a whole new idea of what I want to do with the land. But again, this is the old one, but the new plan shows I have a couple trees there that I would also have to take down if I moved it forward towards Ellis, which I'd like to prevent doing.
Would you prefer to wait to supply those new plans?
Yes, if that is possible. Again, I resubmitted the application, and I thought that, and actually fill out a new application because I have some more renderings and things I want to do with the property. So when I saw the agenda here without the new plans, I'm not sure how far would you get with this meeting. So if it's okay, I can even swing by again on Monday. Is there anybody new? I do understand that Brian Ottman has, his position's kind of moved. Is there anybody else to contact there to, kind of get the ball rolling forward a little?
Well, there's a few people at the planning department. You'll want to speak with either Benny, or Megan, or of course Dave Moran and his team are always here.
Okay. I will do that, gentlemen. I know we have a busy night tonight, and I appreciate the time, so I will just reconvene on this on Monday. I will swing in there. I'll be back in town, and, if I have to get in front of you, I will be present next month.
Mr. Warner, let me pause you before we end this directly. I just want to give Mr. Zurich and Mr. Wallace an opportunity. They've studied this, they've visited the property, they may have questions that'll either help them or potentially give you some insight.
Okay.
Mr. Zurich?
Yeah, I've been out there, I think, a couple times, actually. Is the intended spot to be basically on a rather large tree stump that's there and it's kind of surrounded by existing trees? Is that the spot?
Correct, yeah. The stump will come out of there. I can get that out. I just don't want to take.
Understand. No,
Yep.
understand. And then, is there a reason why you don't want to put it between the septic field and the fence?
Yeah, because that's, again, just cosmetically, it's, the yard is there, the kids play there. Again, I kind of want this, to overlook the field and the pond area, and kind of be, just a getaway, I don't want things to be cluttered, I have 7 acres there, so, I don't want to, have a bunch of structures kind of jammed between the pole barn and the house, and, I don't want to do that.
Okay. I'm good.
Yeah.
Mr. Wallace?
Thank you, Mr. Warner. I believe the last time you were before us, you said there would be no plumbing in this structure. Is that still true?
Correct, yep. There will be electric, but yeah, no plumbing.
And I did a site visit as well. I was at the site but not on the site, and from the topo map, it doesn't seem like the topography is that dramatic. So that is the one thing I will be looking at when we look at this at a future meeting.
Okay.
And just to add my thoughts there as well, looking forward to the next meeting. I'll be honest that when I look at a 7-acre site and I'm charged with, is this the only place, or is there any other place where we can put this structure and respect that setback, that 75-foot setback? It's not that in all cases setbacks aren't warranted, but typically, in my mind, on a larger property, there may be another spot. And so I'd like to better understand, other than, again, convenience or visual corridors and things like that, specifically why, what causes the need for this variance.
If I may. Yeah, Mr. Warner, what the chair is saying is not just some rationale is dreamed up. It actually comes out of our ordinance. that if there's a better way or a different solution, we're not supposed to be giving a variance. So
Okay.
that's our
charge.
constriction.
Yeah, I understand. We got rules we gotta abide by. I understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just, again, my ideal spot is right there, up against there, and given the variance, and again, I know you got a busy night, one question for you, the variance of 75 feet off, is that, 75 feet from my property, and then I think we discussed it in the last meeting, we have another 300 feet of, heavily wooded area between my house and my neighbor's house, so it's not like I'm encroaching on his privacy in any way, so I don't know if, again, I'm assuming you have the variances for those kind of, rules, so you're not building structures right on the property line for your neighbor to stare at. But, keep in mind, there is still a lot of, heavily wooded area between my house and my neighbors as well, so. Anyway, I can, again, stop in on Monday, revisit with the new plans, and, we could go from there.
I appreciate that. It
Thank
sounds
you.
like that new information or additional information will be helpful.
I'll move to table.
Support.
We've motion by Wallace to table, support by Mr. Zurich. I think this is simple enough. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. We've been motioned to table. Ideally, work with Benny and Megan, and we'll see you at the next meeting or the next convenient meeting for yourself. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right. We will now move into new business. That was an old business case. Same format with new business. We have 5 additional cases that we'll go through tonight. I'll call the first one, case number 26-002, Nathan Adams, petitioner, requesting a side yard variance from section 5.06A4, table 5.062, to allow 25-foot when a 50-foot side yard setback is required. So 50-foot typical, 25-foot requested, in order to construct a new detached accessory building on a non-conforming lot of record. That home is at 6135 Clintonville Road, parcel number 0826200-034, which is also in the R1R residential section of our township. Mr. Adams, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Appreciate you coming tonight. If you give us your name and your address, and then just kind of walk us through your application.
Yep. So I am Nathan Adams. I live at 6135 Clintonville Road here in Clarkston. I'm looking to construct a 30-foot by 40-foot accessory structure on my property. Requesting that 25-foot setback due to primarily the size of my lot. It is a very narrow lot. It is 160 feet wide. I know the minimum for R1R is 200 feet. And then some of the practical difficulties are the existing shed. Location of that would prevent access to this new structure from the driveway based on other locations. Shifting further north would encroach on the existing septic field. And then about 4 of my 5 acres, maybe a little more than that, are all wetlands in the back to the west. So trying to stay away from those restricts me to this front area. And then finally, just general driveway access and being able to get vehicles and trailers into this new structure would be difficult or impossible in other locations.
Great, I appreciate that. So it's a unique piece of property from the point of view that you have nearly 5 acres on Clintonville Road. It is more narrow than the ordinance would expect in that location. As you pointed out, typically in R1R, it'd be a 200-foot width. You've got about 165 or so. My assumption is, and Benny probably could confirm it, that predates the ordinance, that was the size of the lot. And make sure lot is especially long, but it looks as though it's kind of bifurcated with a drain or a stream that goes through it.
There's a stream that goes through right behind the mowed area of the yard.
So more or less, the usable property is closer to Clintonville.
Correct, yes.
Okay. And tell me please a little bit about the building itself. What are you building? What size? What's the materials? What's the use?
Yep. So it would be a post frame building, steel siding, 30-foot by 40-foot. Primary use would be storage of boats, outdoor equipment, lawn equipment, but then also have workshop in there and areas to work on vehicles. Planning concrete floor, electric, no plumbing,
No plumbing?
no plumbing.
Okay. The question that I have, and then we'll turn it back over to the board, is, again, approaching it from the point of view of if 50 foot is the standard, why not 50 foot? I visited the property, the existing accessory building on a property this size, you're permitted to have two. It's a decent building, I'm sure it has a real value and use, but at the same time, could that be moved or incorporated into, you're building a new building, large, if that accessory building wasn't there, it seems as though that it would be possible.
Yeah, so one of the main issues with that would just be kind of the orientation where, I don't know if you could tell where the driveway access to kind of get into the backyard area, to be able to get boats and specifically like larger trailers to be able to back in lengthwise into a garage door. If I had moved it in, I would probably have to relocate the doors, and then I'd be limited on size there, to not then encroach on the north side to the septic field, which is in the middle north side of my yard. And then even shifting back and getting further away from that accessory building to allow access would then put me within, I believe, the 50-foot mark of the stream and the wetlands that are back there.
So you couldn't move it further west or further back into your property?
I could move it some, but not much further back from what's listed on the application.
I see. All right. I appreciate that. Mr. Wallace, any thoughts, questions?
Well, in the first instance, I'm concerned about the placement as well, and as we just spoke about, the notion that there may be a better solution. I am not exactly following why it, and the drive is shown on here, and the drive, at least currently, doesn't make it back to where you're proposing this building go. So then the question is, why couldn't it come forward towards the road and then further north?
That would interfere with the current shed that's there.
And what's that used for?
Additional storage, lawn equipment. I know I am, based on the zoning, allowed 2 accessory structures. I'm within the square footage allowed for my property size, so.
Good point. Mr. Zurich? Is that it for now, Neil?
Yes.
I have no questions right now.
Thank you. Mr. Hayward?
And you said you're gonna be storing boats and things like that in there.
Correct.
It's difficult to tell from you really didn't, provide us with a survey, which makes it easier, so some of this stuff probably isn't to scale, so it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to look at it, to find out exactly how far the stream is away from your house, so we can make a better determination whether or not to, what an appropriate variance would be if one is actually needed. The other question that I kind of have, and I guess this can go to Dick or whatever, when you're talking about storing boats in there, is this now a garage? No. Or, no, it's just an accessory structure that has garage doors?
The basis behind the increases in the storage, in the size of the accessory buildings was specifically because of the prohibition to store our, recreational vehicles, in certain parts of the property, so we decided to allow people to have larger storage buildings, so.
Okay, I didn't know if, considered a garage or not, so I know there's a differentiation
No.
there because of
And
total
if
square.
you remember, the definition is for personal goods and materials.
Sure,
Which a boat certainly is.
right. Okay, so anyway, I guess that's my only thing. I would really like to have more information in the aspect of a survey, so we can find out exactly where the septic field is, the accessory building. I do like the idea of, why can't this drop down and go over across and even be lined up? To put it in front of the between your house and the accessory building. So, and it's hard to tell, again,
Yeah.
from these measurements, so. But I do like the idea of having that brought towards your driveway and over towards the east on the property.
I wouldn't want to see, if I may, I wouldn't want to see him put to the expense of a survey if he's going to do the survey and we're going to come back here and deny it anyway. And the other issue that we have to wrestle with is whether we allow this to happen on a lot that's already non-conforming. And one of those considerations is, do you have other alternatives? That is, could you obtain property from your neighbor to make up for that difference and not need the variance? Is that anything that you've explored?
I have not, no. I know just based on kind of how he has trails laid out on his property. One of the trails is right on the property line as is, so I'm not sure that he would be willing to give that up.
It might be best, if we do end up adjourning this, that you actually ask and are able to report back to us that that's not a possibility. I will also say that these 6 cases had us, to do our site visits, had us traveling all over the township. And it occurred to me that in some instances, we maybe should be requiring pole barns so we didn't have so much outside
Yeah.
storage.
That was one of the motivations behind, increasing the size requirements to allow larger, because on the one hand, we were regulating outdoor storage. On the other hand, there was, the limitations on the size of the buildings were very strict, you might recall, so.
So, I can think of another case years ago on Sashabaw where it wasn't a accessory structure, it was actually wanting to build a house on a deep lot. The original house was in the back. They wanted to build a front lot or front house and split it. And in that case, they did acquire 10 feet or so from their neighbors. What may be different, I don't know enough about your neighbor's property, is our township isn't in the habit of assuming that your neighbor is non-conforming because yours is non-conforming. That may or may not be the case. But if your neighbor is a non-conforming lot as well, theoretically, then we would be making it more narrow and therefore increasing the non-conformity. If that's the case, that's something that we could
On
think
the
about.
overview, it looks that the neighbor's lot to the south is about twice as
Oh,
wide.
is it? Okay.
Just
So maybe
not
be-
measuring, but just eyeballing.
Right. Good point. So, go ahead, Ken.
Even if he were to move, let's say the accessory structure is not there, which is 12 foot, I'm guessing 12 foot wide, because it's rectangular. This diagram shows it square, but I think it's rectangular, and I think it's the 12-foot dimension. So even if he were to move it, if we were to eliminate the small accessory structure and put it right on the edge there, he's still violating by a couple feet, right? Or 10 plus 12? 3 feet?
Well, if you can move it 22, you can probably move it 25. So,
No, he's not saying move the existing accessory, he's saying move the,
I understood that, and correct me, Ken, to remove the
Well-
accessory building and shift the new building over to that northern edge?
Right. I mean, there's,
okay.
I want to try and figure out a way to, and I don't know, since we broadcasted this requirement, but is there a way that we could compromise something, give him some advice, or give him some numbers that he has to live with, and then survey proof that he meets our new number, and he can go off on his own, or no? I mean, I hate creating delays for people all the time.
Better delay than deny.
Yes, that's correct. I mean.
But I don't want to delay, and I want to accept something.
Your options are to obviously to deny a variance, to approve a variance as presented, to approve a variance with conditions, which what you are suggesting is a condition, or table, or postpone, okay? So you have options here.
Okay, so.
If you are uncertain about exactly what it is you are approving, you know, I would suggest that you postpone and allow the applicant to come back with a revised proposal. I think you are giving direction in this particular regard.
Well, technically, I think to get over the Article 13 requirement that I talked about, he's gonna have to at least ask the neighbor if additional land's available. If the guy turns him down, he turns him down.
Well, that too.
That's one
but
issue.
there also, you know, that there is provision in the ordinance that you can grant the minimum variance needed to accommodate what the applicant, you know, basically what they are requesting. And I think, Ken, what you're suggesting is by moving the building over, eliminating the accessory building.
The proposed building, or the?
Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
so they butt.
While it may not, you know, it may not end up meeting the 50-foot variance, it would be a more minimal variance than what would be needed. That's just, you know, an example, okay? If he moves it 50 feet from the property line, he doesn't need a variance, so,
Right.
anyway. And would not need to require a property, by the way, under those circumstances either.
Go ahead, yeah.
If you're talking about having the proposed building abut the existing one?
What I'm saying is if he would eliminate the existing accessory building, move the building over 50 feet, he wouldn't need a variance at all, and wouldn't need to acquire additional property if it,
No, I get that.
yeah.
I think I would be comfortable, and I don't know how he feels about it, if the proposed accessory building was moved enough to abut the existing one.
I
Then we're
think-
talking about 35 versus 50, and it is, after all, R1R.
That is a code problem, though, because we do require 10-foot separation distance
okay.
between,
Building.
Fire issues.
yeah.
Let me
detached
pause
accessory
you,
buildings.
Mr. Hayward.
So when I'm guessing on these measurements, but if you were to be able to move your the building either below to the house or above, and then your lines lined up with, so I thought, looking at, the problem is I don't know how far you are from the river,
Yeah.
so I don't know what that is. You know, what your setback is there between the river and your backyard. But if you were to move this back and then line up the accessory building with your current building, which I believe is actually, I think if I saw it overhead, it's 16 wide and 12 deep. But,
It's 16 north to south.
correct,
12.
that's right then. So, well, I'm looking at the map, but
Yep.
so wide, basically, based on your house, if you're looking at your house. So if you were to be able to bring that back and then move it over to line it up, you wouldn't even need a variance
To line up with the house.
to line up with this side of the accessory building. So if you look down this accessory building,
Oh, I
if this
see.
math is correct.
Yeah, the issue with that is with the location of the doors, I would not be able to get a trailer from the
So
driveway
you have 2 trailers?
turned over.
Yeah.
And
Well-
then I would like to be able to get them in lengthwise to be able to utilize the full length of the barn for trailer storage.
Another thing that, for the board to consider, and I'm interested in Mr. Carlisle's point of view, in the past with non-accessory, non-conforming lots, or in lots where the home, a deep lot, the home isn't placed at the front setback line, the zoning board in the past has taken that in consideration, said, hey, in the case of an accessory structure in the front, or your home is built so far back, it makes sense to put an accessory structure. In this case, ironically, if it was a 200-foot lot wide and he built everything as he proposes, he'd actually have about 37 more feet to his lot, and he'd have more than enough room. His neighbor isn't immediately abutting him. So I think in some part of this equation, that nonconformity is an issue or factors in, whether or not that changes anything. But because it's a non-conforming lot, we do have another section of our ordinance that addresses it. You mentioned a few parts of it. But that you know, it's an unusual circumstance to this property compared to a traditional lot.
Yeah, and
But the
similar lots.
nonconformity still becomes a threshold question.
Similar lots that back up to Clintonville Road on Pine Knob that are directly behind me. They're all about the same size, ranging from 4 to 7 acres. And I know there's at least 5 houses on that road that have variances for pole barns, ranging from 10 feet to 30 feet.
That's correct.
Well,
But there are a lot of 165-foot lots out in Clintonville Road for some reason,
yeah,
going a ways back.
Is that existing accessory structure on like skid 4x4s or something?
It's on 4x4s on concrete piers.
Oh, there's a concrete pier?
Well,
Or just a pad?
concrete
small pad?
pads, sorry, yes.
Well, Adam, I want to try and figure out a way to, Mr. Adams, I want to try and figure out a way to help you and get you through here tonight. And I'm not sure if the other board members are willing to compromise a little bit. But my thought is we would give you some requirements and kick you off on your way and get you going. And maybe one of the requirements could be that you slide that existing one farther back, you know, so you can maintain the 10-foot requirement between the new building and the existing building. And I'm not sure how hard that would be for you to actually slide it, you know, skid it back, and then move the new building, asking maybe for a 10-foot variance. And I understand your difficulty in backing off on your asphalt driveway, but I think you have a lot of room there that you can not use the intended pattern of your asphalt driveway and drive on your grass to get it loaded into to the new, you know, barn. From what I hear, you know, a lot of the board members are hesitating to approve your 25-foot requirement. So, and I'm not sure if we're willing to set them off with some requirements.
I don't have a problem with reaching some sort of compromise, but again, with respect to the non-conforming lot, if you go through this worksheet and our requirements under Article 13, one of the conditions we're supposed to look to is whether he has the option of acquiring more property so that the variance is not necessary. And I don't know how we get past that. The other requirement that we probably can't get past tonight is that there's not a survey really to demonstrate to us how these puzzle pieces fit together. It seems like this is the kind of thing where maybe staff did, but that staff could have moved the puzzle pieces around for us a little bit. I don't know, Megan's not here. I presume it would have been her or maybe Brian, depending on how early he came to the township.
Yeah, I was working with Brian when I submitted these.
well, I mean, we certainly can continue the discussion. We can entertain a motion in any which direction. Mr. Adams, you've heard at least some of the issues that we're discussing with you. And there may be solutions. It may be, you know, a solution may be to either forego or ultimately look to move that existing structure to make way for this larger structure and either not require a variance or require less of a variance. That's a possibility. It kind of takes out of play the nonconformity. It's just a straight variance at that point. So that may be a solution that you're able to either offer tonight or, you know, table and go home and think about that option. There are other suggestions that, boy, if we had more information, if there's a way to move one of the buildings back towards the drain without, you know, encroaching on the natural feature setback, there are some pressure points there, but we just don't have enough of that information.
Yeah.
So Gentlemen, I'll take your pleasure in terms
He's
of a
got,
motion or
yeah, I'd
direction.
hate to see us deny this when, tonight, when, even though I don't think all the requirements are met yet, I think there should be some opportunity to give the applicant an opportunity to, as I said, move the puzzle pieces around. I don't know exactly what works. I understand it, and I know the old saw is no matter how big you build the pole barn, it's not gonna be big enough. But you talked about the access, so I presume the doors were, are intending the doors on the proposed new building to face the road.
Correct, yes.
And what about turning it on its side, either behind or in front of the accessory building?
Yeah, so turning it on its side, I think would restrict, that'd give me about 25 feet that I'd have to do a 90-degree turn to back anything into, and even moving that back would then encroach on the septic field to get more space there.
Without a survey, it's difficult for us to
Correct, yeah.
exactly see all of that.
I guess I just had one clarifying.
Please.
I was under the impression that practical difficulty was kind of the main thing you had to prove for a dimensional variance. And to me, I guess having to buy property from a neighbor or, move an existing structure that was there prior to my doing seems like that would fall under practical difficulty.
So, two things. You're not wrong, but two things. One is you're a non-conforming lot. So the issue about buying property or acquiring property from your neighbor has nothing to do with the dimensional variance directly. It has to do with the fact that it's a non-conforming lot. And so that's one set of requirements we have to look at. The other thing is that with respect to practical difficulties, it's not just sort of a gut call on what you or we think is a practical difficulty. There's actually 5 plus sort of 1 or 2 more requirements that we actually have to look at. And it probably would have been handy, and maybe going forward we will, to have our worksheet made available to you so you could see the kinds of things we're looking at.
Okay.
And one of those requirements is that there's no better alternative. And this is the minimum that absolutely has to be. And so that's the hurdle that we're trying to get around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's well said. It's that question, is there a better alternative that either makes no variance required or less of a variance? And so everything we've said tonight is a group is saying, hey, how about here, how about there? I'm a designer by occupation, and I don't like designing by committee, and so we're really trying not to design this, but to think of different alternatives that provide less intrusion into the setback.
Okay.
With that said, Mr. Adams, I guess I'm looking maybe for direction from you. You've heard some of the issues that we're wrestling with. You've heard some potential solutions. Frankly, we're able to discuss tonight a variance that's not greater than the 25 foot, but 10 or 20 or 0 or 2. So there are options tonight in terms of if you have a timeline to say, hey, maybe I can move this, I can shift this, and then we could talk about that. We can't make those decisions for you, but perhaps you've thought of a plan B. Or alternatively, like the prior applicant, you can ask for us to consider tabling it and allow you to go back and either provide more information, take closer measurements, or come up with a design alternative.
Yeah, I think potentially moving the existing structure behind this one, I think that would allow me to get away and still be able to access it with about a 15-foot variance, so 35 feet off the line. I think any more than that would make it difficult to access and restrict yard usage.
So your suggestion is that you would move the proposed new building essentially over to that 10-foot, which is essentially on the southern side of the existing building. The existing building would have to be relocated because of the fire separation.
Correct, yes.
So you might be willing to accept am I hearing you correctly, a 10-foot variance?
A 15-foot
A
variance.
15-foot.
I want to change the vernacular a little bit, not what he's willing to accept. I mean, it's a nuance, but you know, the ordinance does, I think, in terms of the nature of a variance, but we arrive at the same discussion. I just want to,
So what are you saying, push the existing building back and move the proposed building to the north?
Correct, yes.
You don't have the same trailer issues with the existing accessory building?
No, no,
Jockeying around,
no.
okay.
Mr. Adams, I'm going to attempt to make a proposal, to help get you maybe what you would live with. And I guess I want to confirm, if we end up rejecting the proposal that I submit, he doesn't have to leave yet, right?
that's right.
You still will have the option to table this and maybe save some fees for the application, and maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, the failure of a motion to approve is not a denial.
So I just want to make sure you understand that. I'm going to attempt to help you get something today so you
Okay.
can walk out successful in
Okay.
a sense. But be aware that we can still tell you, we'll help you table this, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I guess in case number 26-002 for Mr. Adams petitioning for a 25-foot yard setback, that we change that to a 15-foot yard setback. And the only other requirement will be that he'll have to show a survey that he doesn't make that worse.
I thi-
And it's based on the difficulty of him actually getting, trailer-type items off his driveway and into the barn, which right now, we would be making that more difficult for the homeowner.
So before we open this up for discussions, a couple
There's
clarification
not a
points.
second. Yeah, so-
Do we have to have a second before I ask questions?
Go ahead.
You had said a 15-foot variance, essentially, yes, I think you're right. To be clear to all, the 15-foot would be the reduction from the required 50 foot. So essentially, what the motion is considering is a 35-foot minimum distance from the property line. In terms of a survey confirmation, that's essentially what the township now does with our building department is, as you place the building, we ask for a survey and to work with the building department for a survey confirmation before you go any further,
Okay.
so that we don't get in a situation where, boy, it's actually a little bit closer, and now
Yep.
we've got to ask you to move it.
Yep.
So
We
keep going
should,
with your
can we,
motion. I
can
just
we
wanted-
also add that the relocation of the existing accessory building cannot be violating the 50-foot side yard? Is that,
Mhm.
I'd like to add that, I guess.
We have a motion, do we have support?
Here's why I'm not supporting. I still have a problem getting over the hump on our requirement under Article 13 because it's a non-conforming lot. We could make that a condition, but all of a sudden we're condition upon condition upon condition. My sense is that we table it. I'm perfectly willing to give him my sense of the thing, that if he showed back up here and the neighbor has in writing said, no way are you getting any of my property, and you're showing us a plan that moves the accessory building straight back and moves the proposed accessory building 35 feet away from that southerly line, that with those circumstances, I would be looking favorable upon that. I believe that it would meet the requirements that we're supposed to meet.
We still do not.
That's
have a
my
s-
sense of it. But I'm not making the motion to table because there's not supposed to be discussion on a motion.
Well, I just want to give Mr. Hayward the opportunity to second that motion that's been, or okay, so the motion does not pass. We'll open it back up for discussion. Mr. Wallace, you just provided some additional
Mhm.
discussion. Any other discussion?
Well, I would say, I think it would be good for each of us to give him, if we're going to table,
Okay, sure,
to give him a sense of what we'd like to see him bring back
Okay.
to us.
sure.
I think it would be unfair to send him away on a motion to table with the hopes that he's gonna come back, and then we're not.
Not knowing.
We say, oh, no, we want it all the way back.
Correct.
I think we should give him some sense of what would be acceptable to us.
So in looking at this, one of the things that we also propose is that you know, if that doesn't work, possibly a smaller building. Some of the other things that we would look at is, we have to look at the actual constraints of the land. So it was mentioned that, you know, it might be difficult for you to back the trailer in. Well, you'd have to expand your driveway. You know what I mean? We don't necessarily look at those things. We just have to look at why do you need it, because your property, it doesn't work as far as the land itself.
Okay.
Not necessarily the other structures on the property, you know, we're, we're looking at these things, and I think that if you've exhausted, as Mr. Wallace stated, with, you know, going to your neighbor to try to get, to make this lot conforming, and then you come back and we are at a point to where we have to, we're looking at the minimum necessary variance.
Okay.
So,
I would
I
just,
think,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I have a couple trailers and another property that I have a pole barn, and I perfectly well understand the difficulties with the trailer situation, and that's why I gave you the sense of what I gave you, as an accommodation to you. I also wanna say, this is zoned for rural residential, and, as I said before, I'd like to see more pole barns and more stuff go into pole barns, rather than spread out all over the properties, which we,
Then that's where I think that it's a good opportunity for us to look at the ordinances that we have and probably get to the point to where those are beneficial to those things. So we're not always here trying to do what we're doing today.
but that's,
so,
but that's
I
sort
agree.
of, but that's sort of why we're here.
Right.
That's sort of why the ZBA exists, is try and
Adjust.
find those exceptions and sort of do equity for people and be
Right.
fair about things. And so you have my sense of it, and I hope that when you come back, that's what you'll find from at
Any
least the
additional
majority
comments?
of the ZBA.
No, and I think you're correct. I mean, we truly find, you know, that there's no way to resolve the nonconformity, then, you know, unless we start looking at those options that you have to be able to, what we can do so you can, you know, reasonably have your accessory structure, so.
Thank you.
Can you provide some information, any other additional feedback?
Do you know how to get a hold of the property owner next to you?
Yes, yeah.
You do? Okay. Because I think literally, we're gonna wanna see something in writing from him. He's got,
Yep.
you know, you can maybe write it, but he needs to sign it, right? I
Okay.
mean, okay.
Mr. Adams, I feel the same way. I think that there is some adjustment that could be made, either just frankly through the elimination of that accessory building and moving it over, shifting it around. I agree with the idea that that accessory building, if it is moved, shouldn't need another variance. It should respect the 50-foot. You know, potentially it could go on the other side of the septic field or other things like that. I've got septic fields at my house, and I know you can put pads and sheds, essentially. They're not that heavy. You typically aren't driving a vehicle over it to get there. So there's probably a lot of options to move that, which would free up that part of your land and still accommodate some maneuvering. So I'm in favor, theoretically, obviously about acquiring more land, which solves an awful lot of the problems. I know that's not an easy thing to do, or something potentially less than that 50-foot, but sliding it further north to help lessen that. You all right?
So, and my sense also is that I think with the kinds of things we've talked about, it's not necessary for you to go to the expense of a survey up front, but it will be on the backside. Before you get a building permit, you'll have to show them a survey that verifies where these things actually are.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
On that basis, I would move to table this.
Support.
We have a motion to table case number 26002, providing Mr. Adams with some feedback and with the idea that if he still requires a variance, he'll come back and provide that information and insight. All in favor of motion to table?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Again, Benny, Megan, who is not here tonight, Dave Moran is here. There's a whole team here at the township to help answer these questions, to try and make sure that you know exactly what is needed. They know us well in terms of what helps make a decision, so please take advantage of the township.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Benny and Dick, I really appreciated this time in the packet that you gave us, that you had these worksheets for us. I would suggest, though, that these be made part of the applications, so that people know what these considerations are that we have to, the markers we have to hit.
Absolutely. You do that.
All right, moving on. Case number 26003, Timothy Wickersham, requesting a front yard variance from section 4.09D, table 4.09, to allow a 45.8-foot positioning when a 75-foot setback is required to construct a new attached garage at 7960 Dixie Highway on parcel 0819301013, which is in the rural residential section of our township again. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Eric Stock. I am employed by Tim Wickersham. I'll be the project manager.
Eric Stock?
Eric Stock, yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. I live at 532 Windward Circle, Walled Lake, Michigan.
Thank you. Eric, so I believe the members have all visited the location, not really on Dixie Highway. It's one of the cooler
Yeah.
streets in the township, but it's a interesting neighborhood back there. You've got an existing house which has an attached garage. It also has a detached garage, and I believe, if I'm reading the plans right, that they're planning on essentially extending the attached garage and expanding it.
Yes. Yeah, they're trying to extend the single-car attached garage outward to create a two-car garage. There's an accessory building up near that way that has a variance off the front setback, as well as the house itself had a variance from the front setback. This will be behind both those. It'll be closer to, farther away from the front setback than both those.
So it's an interesting point. So what you're saying is the existing home, kind of what I would guess is maybe like the front foyer of the home or
Yes,
something,
the front foyer.
extends forward. You're saying that that already encroaches in the front setback. This
Yes.
new structure will come forward of its existing plane, but won't be out as far as that encroachment.
Exactly, that and the accessory building that is next to it. As well as there is a 60-foot egress easement from that front setback onward that is non-buildable as well.
Thank you. Before I ask a lot of questions into the board, Dick, maybe you can give us a little insight, because it's an unusually shaped piece of property, it's an unusual neighborhood, and we're talking about a front setback.
Yeah.
And to me, it feels like a driveway. And so is there in fact a front setback from a driveway, or I guess it's probably from the property line, which would run north-south in that case?
You know,
It's one of those properties that what's
I don't-
the front?
Yeah.
You know, I don't recall whether this was actually a driveway or actually it was it was a private road. This was Tim's old house.
Yes, it
wasn't
was Tim's old
Yeah.
house, yes.
This was Tim Wickersham's house. Surprised. Kind of looking forward to him being here tonight, actually. So I think, you know, this came about as a result of an interpretation you know, you had to figure out where the front setback was from some respect. Probably, you know, it could have been from, you know, Deer Hill.
Mhm.
But I think years ago, we made an interpretation that it would, you know, that front property line that more or less faces that private road was where the front setback was measured from. And that's how the house is positioned too, from that
Yeah.
standpoint. So I think it was a matter of interpretation. I don't recall if, you know, this house, you know, this used to be the old Rose Farm, all this property there.
Hmm.
And so that little lane that you see there with the columns was, you know, it led into the whole, that was all part of the entire piece of property. And these little lots were split off many, many years ago. And in the odd configurations that they are, were predominantly so that every lot had lake frontage.
Yeah.
And, so I think it was a matter of interpretation.
So-
And I think that is precedent setting because that is how the previous variance was determined.
And that was going to lead to my next question. So that front existing part of the house must have at some point had a variance?
Yes.
And so now, it's an interesting question for me is, if the home already has a variance, and you're putting an addition on that goes in that same direction but doesn't exceed that variance, it requires a second variance?
That.
In other words, could it just fall under the first variance?
That is a decision of you. That's why you are as a board, this is why we bring it before you,
Good.
to make that interpretation. I don't think that the department feels comfortable making that interpretation when it is a matter of question. And so that's why it was advertised for a variance from the front setback. And I could say that, while, the two ways you look at this is one is it does not increase the nonconformity because it's set further back from the road. But on the other hand, you're extending the nonconformity because it's extending it across the frontage of the property. So I think that is why this is sent before you to make that determination.
Good point. Thank you.
Okay?
All right. Eric, before we bring it back to our team here, do you have anything else that we should be thinking about?
I know that there is, on the one side, there is overhead obstructions. I believe that's in between the accessory building and the proposed building, as well as the well head is over that way as well. So going out to the right side would make it
You couldn't extend the
possible.
garage that direction?
Couldn't extend the garage that way because of overhead obstructions, as well as a well going there.
Okay. All right, I've lost track of where we're going. Mr. Hayward, you wanna?
Sure, we have we'll just stick with this case, but I saw something on two cases with the similar situation as this one. And I looked up the ordinance, which is 13.02.b, which says, no such non-conforming structure may be enlarged or altered in a way that increases its non-conformity. I don't believe that does. We've already got a front yard setback that's set. It's not increasing it. He's not asking for more room. The rear yard is set. They're not asking for anything there anyway. And that just leaves the side yard, which is where he's moving. So I just think that he's based on what the ordinance says, which is, I'll read it again, no such non-conforming structure may be enlarged or altered in a way that increases its non-conformity. And I don't see that increasing it. My thought is I don't believe it needs another variance. I think that it should be fine with the way it is, and my personal opinion is that I would just dismiss this case based on there's no need for a variance. That's my thought.
So I appreciate that. So let's come back to that in a minute. I want to hear from everybody. But if we come back to that point, which I don't necessarily disagree with at all, I want to talk about, does that then set any type of policy, if the board interprets how that zoning ordinance works, some things that we've talked about recently at various ZBA seminars is, okay, that now becomes essentially direction that the building department could take forward in other cases similar to this. So if we do go down that route, we should understand what we're saying.
And I will say, though, that there have been similar interpretations in the past in this regard. However, it's always the purview of the building department to send this to a Board of Appeals. Because, especially when it comes to judgment calls, and I think from an administrative standpoint, if there is any question at all, and it's brought into question after permits are issued, then it becomes even a bigger problem. So I don't think there's any harm in bringing this before the board, but I'm not necessarily certain that it suggests that this will mean that every similar type case will not come back before the board, because it may, where there's questions that the building official and the zoning administrator have about these things. So And I don't necessarily disagree with your interpretation. But, as I said, there are two ways to look at this thing. It could be the extension, not merely the encroachment. That's part of this. So it is really up to your judgment as a board to make that decision.
I appreciate the clarification on the policy going forward.
Yeah.
Ken?
You were mentioning, Mr. Carlisle, the positive side of maybe just making this a general rule for the building department to accept. Is there a negative side beside, you were mentioning the width, I understand, but is there another, what else could go wrong?
I wouldn't make it a policy from that standpoint, because you don't make policy. You actually make decisions. You make interpretations, you grant variances,
Okay.
whatever.
So I guess it doesn't bother me whether we take a motion and accept this case, or we accept the case on the previous motion, or, that's what we're saying, aren't we? It's that he's already in compliance?
Well,
Either way.
Mr. Hayward
You all have
suggested.
to agree on that.
Either way.
Well,
Mr. Wallace?
just initially, from a procedural standpoint, this isn't in front of us for an interpretation. It's in front of us requesting a variance.
Correct.
And so then it's not clear if we merely dismiss it, saying that they don't need a variance. It's not clear whether we've set a precedent or not. It's a very unique property, so I'm not sure what kind of precedent that's going to set. We are, if the broad rationale for controlling nonconformities is to ultimately make the nonconforming structures and properties go away, we're not doing that by dismissing it. So the other question I have is, do we have the authority when it is before us as a variance request to instead do an interpretation?
I would say, great question.
I asked you first.
I know.
We're getting our money's worth out of Dick tonight.
I know. I know, this is why I'm only gonna come once a year.
Next time, stay retired.
I would say no, because that's not what has been specifically advertised, and that's not what you've been directed to do, okay? Now, on the other hand, where there is a question here, if you are in agreement with what is being proposed, there is no harm in granting the variance. You're
Right.
really not doing anything negative from that standpoint. There's no harm in it. However, on an advisory basis, you can certainly suggest to the building department that in circumstances like this, that, there are circumstances like this where the variance may not have been necessary. But I will tell you that, again, I don't believe there's any harm in the department sending this to you where there is a question in their own minds as to whether a variance might be necessary or not.
But that question then is perhaps an interpretation of this 1302B. That question is it enlarging a nonconformity by allowing the structure to be enlarged? Or does enlarging or altering, increasing the nonconformity mean that it has to go closer to the lot line in the case of a setback?
Well, I think the question in hand here simply was the issue of the setback, the front setback, not necessarily the increasing of the size of a non-conforming structure.
But it is a non-conforming structure, so and you gave us the, maybe you didn't, but
Yeah.
we got the worksheet in our packet to
Right.
go through the consideration of this as a non-conforming structure.
What's the question?
Okay.
Well, no,
We're not making it worse though, right?
You're right.
So
You're not
let me make a
increasing it.
motion.
Hey, before we do that, I'd like to open up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience here that would like to comment on this case on Dixie Highway? No one in the audience? Anybody online that would like to comment on this case?
I don't need to make a comment, but I'd like to give my apologies. My name is Adam Ponto. I'm actually the homeowner. I did attempt to make it back to Michigan for this hearing in person. However, my flight got delayed in South Carolina, and as you can see, I'm definitely not in Michigan at the moment. But I do want to extend my apologies to each of the board members.
Appreciate that. You look like you're suffering there.
If I told you where I was, it's a little bit worse than what it looks like.
Well, safe travels back. We appreciate anything additionally we should know about your property as we consider this?
No, sir. I believe Mr. Stock presented everything very well.
Okay, great. I'll then close the public comment, bring it back to the board.
I'd like to make a motion to take case number 26-003 for a front yard setback of 45.8 feet. And it would be based on that we're not making the existing nonconformities worse. And that we would need a survey to confirm the final location of the addition.
We have a motion. Do we have support? I will support the motion simply to open up for discussion, and Ken, to ask if you would consider amending the motion by adding that the strict enforcement of the ordinance does note that in cases where there's practical difficulty in this case has been noted in terms of the unique shape of the parcel, even at a certain point questioning what is the front, what is the side, and so forth. So it's a uniquely shaped parcel, that the addition doesn't significantly or really in any way harm the public health, safety, or welfare, or the character of the neighborhood, and that this ordinance adjustment, this variance, is essentially the minimal to provide justice for this case.
Yes.
Any other further discussion on the case?
My decision for dismissing this was because I didn't want to get into the examples of why I would approve a variance, because now I want to go down the line of saying, well, could this garage go somewhere else? Could it go on the backside of the garage that's, go ahead.
So on the backside of the garage is, the topography of it, it's a big giant slope, so we would have to actually build up a lot, and then plus you're also looking at the well being placed on the one side, on the right side of the house.
I meant on the backside of what the existing garage is, I guess. I'm talking about on the backside of the existing garage. I believe there now it just says brick paver or something like that.
Essentially to the east.
Yeah.
And this is
Behind the house.
And this is
Behind the house, then there's the other property line behind that as well. Past that, because there's two properties, there's that's what the easement's for, is to get to that other property back there.
And then I would have to get into the point of, is this a self-created problem? Because you already had two existing garages that you have now, or I believe has already started construction on transferring those into living spaces, and now you've created a problem. I need a garage now. And so one of the things that we have to look at is this problem self-created? And I would have to look at that and say yes. And that's why I would suggest just, that's why I suggested what I suggested. But, so that's what I have to say.
Any other discussion on the motion?
I'm still troubled by the way we're handling it, so. I understand Mr. Hayward's point that if it's a variance, we need to go through these things, and I think we do. And that's how it's presented to us, is as a variance. And if we don't go through those, we're not being consistent.
Well,
It
again,
perhaps should have been presented to us now, I see, as an interpretation, I guess.
Well,
so there's a few different ways that we can move forward. Again, I've asked for discussion of the motion, so there's an opportunity to amend the motion and add additional findings of fact to it. There's an opportunity for the motion to be removed and the discussion continue. We can move forward and vote on this motion. So I guess I'll ask, go ahead, Dick.
I have another thought.
Please.
If you disagree that a variance is even necessary, you can deny the request for a variance because no variance is necessary. Then you've not placed the applicant here in jeopardy, double jeopardy, basically, of being told he needed a variance, and now there's a debate as to whether he needs a variance. It hasn't been brought to you for interpretation, or you can table it and have it brought back to you for an interpretation. That's the other option.
Let me start here, Ken. Would you be willing to withdraw your motion, at least temporarily, to continue the discussion?
We can continue to discuss it, I guess. I don't,
Well, but if we have a motion on the table and someone wants to make another motion, then we've got two motions on the table.
oh, that's fine.
Sure, withdraw.
And I will withdraw my second, so, why don't you start?
Oh, I think I've said enough. I still am perplexed by this and with what we're doing. I think we're now saying, well, we don't really want a variance. A variance isn't really necessary. If we apply the variance standards, I'm not sure we get there, but we ought to be applying them because it's a variance.
But why
And
can't
we
we get
have
there?
the-
Why can't we get there?
Well, we have the attorney's opinion recently on another matter that you can't decide this when it's presented as a variance, merely as a nonconformity. And so what we're saying with these motions we're talking about is, well, there's no problem with the nonconformity. It's still presented to us as a variance.
Okay, but what is it that's holding us up? Relocating it? I'm not sure if it's a good idea to relocate it. There seems to be trees and the land is not conducive, I don't think. There's no reason to tear down a tree because we want to put a little garage on the house. I don't think that's acceptable.
So I think, in my opinion, Ken, is that you're approaching it from a very practical, realistic point of view. I think what we're at play with here is we've added rigor to our process,
Understand.
and we're trying to work through that process.
Right.
So, Mr. Haber, why don't you follow along your thoughts?
It's the same, what was that other option you gave us?
I said, deny the request because there's no need for a variance.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's probably a little unusual way to deal with this, but, I mean, if it's a feeling of the board that there's no need for a variance, then the applicant can also request a withdrawal of the application. The building official is sitting here and, can proceed and issue a building permit.
And so what the building official, and apparently our consultants as well, have said about this 1302 is we're not sure whether this is an expansion of a nonconformity or not. Is that right?
Well, I think there's been probably enough reason to send things in question to the Board of Appeals rather than making assumptions without Board of Appeals direction. But I think you're giving us direction.
By rejecting it and sending it back to the building department.
Or
Or taking a motion? Mr. Hayward, it was your thought. Why don't you either give us a motion?
Did you say
or some
withdraw,
motion?
what did you say, to withdraw?
Well, I don't, I mean,
No, the last
I don't
one.
know if it is the consensus, it's your opinion.
No, it'll be my motion, but
But
what
is
was
it
the?
the consensus of the board? I mean, and you can only determine that by making a motion
Right.
that you are denying this application
Okay.
because there is no need for a variance.
Okay.
You are not increasing, I mean, and you have to state your reasons.
Sure. Okay. I'm gonna make a motion to deny the application based on our ordinance and my belief of understanding of ordinance 13.02.b. No such non-conforming structure may be enlarged or altered in a way that increases its non-conforming, and I don't believe that this addition increases the non-conformity based on the evidence that's been presented.
Is that the entire motion?
Yes.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
When does discussion happen?
As soon as you say support.
Support.
Discussion.
So,
What could go wrong?
We are saying that there's no, that this is not enlargement of nonconformity. Are we also saying that no variance is required? And why is no variance required?
Because you're not increasing
You're not
its
increasing the
non-conformity.
nonconformity.
It falls short of.
So because it's already non-conforming, it's okay, it doesn't need a variance.
There are many circumstances where we have non-conforming uses where people have had additions that don't increase the non-conformity. So for example, let's say a structure has a non-conforming front setback, but they're adding on to the rear, and so they're not increasing that non-conforming front setback. This, I think this was sent to you because it was still a front setback, even though it's slightly more conforming than the existing non-conformity. So I think there was a question in that regard. You can make the decision that you're not going to approve a variance because you don't think one is necessary.
I understand, my problem isn't so much with this. I think that if we were considering it as a variance, I would have been fine. My problem is with consistency going forward on these things.
I understand.
And I don't know that I buy into this notion that, as you just said, I can increase a non-conforming structure even if as long as I don't increase the non-conformity. That's what you're saying, right?
That, not only what I'm saying, but that's also how I know that it has been interpreted in many instances in the past also.
I'm not sure
I
that's.
don't want you to rely upon that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's true of this ZBA.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't want you to rely upon how,
We've had one of those.
how building officials
Maybe
and
your
how.
first or second meeting. The particular petitioner was putting out a garage on the side of his house, but the house was not conforming.
Down off Pelton area, down in
I
there?
think so.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well,
We discussed that quite a bit, but
we had a similar but different case recently, more recently, where we had a non-conforming structure. But in that case, the non-conformity was in the front. In that case, the applicant wanted to add an additional 6 foot, further extending that
In the front.
non-conformity in the front,
that's
which
another
is
case.
different than this case, which is, hey, I've already allowed, and I don't know the exact numbers, I already have permission for a 20 foot, I want to add 18 foot in a different area, I still fall short of that 20 foot. So we're saying that's where we're saying it's not expanding the
It
the
just-
previous variance.
It just seems to me that we should have a motion to accept this case as presented, and then in the future, more discussions can be made about existing nonconformity and the building department and how they handle it. I'm not sure, I'm not sure if we're supposed to be setting direction for the township and how they manage the building department.
So
I think we should let this person build his garage and let's move on.
I don't have a problem with this particular case, as I said already. I have a problem with our consistency in how we rule. And in fact, as I read this section, to have it interpreted any other way would have to say, in a way that increases the non-conforming structure rather than increases the non-conformity. I don't have a problem with that. At our very last meeting, the matter that was before us was denied because the size of the structure was going to increase. This is out on the lake, the log cabin.
Yep.
Okay, so in that instance, it wasn't gonna move any closer to that side yard setback, and yet the majority vote was to deny that to go forward. I don't understand the distinction between that case and this case.
I'm sorry.
The distinction in those two cases is that house had two encroachments. One was the side yard, which actually currently wasn't in violation of a variance, but they wanted to grow it a little bit more, which would put it. But the more important one in that case was the existing structure already encroached in the front yard setback. Didn't have a variance, it predated a variance, but it was already non-conforming, and they wanted to.
As is this one,
But in this case.
in the front yard.
Correct, but the primary structure of that previous case already encroached, not with an approved variance, as an existing structure, it encroached, and they wanted to further
Make it worse.
that encroachment, add an additional 6 foot, moving the plane of the house forward. In this case, the maximum plane of the house remains the same. They're just taking an area that's set, that's further back and bringing it closer to that plane, but not pushing that plane out.
I understand.
I think that's the distinction to me. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Boy, you guys always wanted to know how sausage was made, eh? So this leaves me to ask, where are we?
You have a motion?
Mr. Hayward, for my benefit, could you restate your motion, please?
Yes, I move, what was the word, can't even read my own writing. What was it it was to deny the application? Was that?
Reject or?
It was to deny the application
Right.
because no variance is
Yes,
necessary.
so I move to deny the application because no variance is needed based on my interpretation of 13.02.b that states, no such nonconforming structure may be enlarged or altered in a way that increases its nonconformity, and I do not believe this addition is increasing the nonconformity. The nonconformity is, for the front yard, is already set, and it's not going beyond what's already there.
And that was seconded by Mr. Zurich.
So do we vote on it, or
Yep.
do we?
Yep, I just was looking at the drawings one last time, but, okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Zurich,
No.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Epic.
Yes. The motion passes. A strange one indeed. Essentially, you're,
You made the determination that no variance is necessary.
Yeah,
They may
so-
apply for a building
Denied your
permit.
application.
we denied your application. In most cases, when an application is denied, we would take another vote to give you direction. Essentially, we've given you that direction. The motion is, your application has been denied with the understanding that the board interprets that no variance is needed. As long as you don't exceed the existing variance, you have to work with our building department. One thing that the building department does require, and this board does require when permits go forward, is that you do have that foundation verification to make sure that it doesn't go any further than it should. Thank you. Appreciate your work.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good luck getting home.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Case number, Item number 3, case number 26-04, Justin Ruta, requesting 5 total variances. You thought that last one was difficult. 5 total variances. The first being a front yard variance from section 4.06, table 4.06, for a 5.5 foot placement when 40 foot is required. The second variance request is a rear yard variance from section 4.06, table 4.06, to allow 46 foot when 50 foot is required. The third variance request is a single side yard variance from section 13.05B for 3.4 feet when 5 foot is required. A combined, if we could just, we're going through a lot of these details here, if we could just maybe talk out in the foyer. We're just trying to go through these details, they're kind of tricky. When 5 foot is required, the fourth setback or variance request is a combined side yard variance from section 13.05 to allow 12 feet when 15 foot is required. And the fifth variance is a variance from the water body setback in section 11.06 for 26.7 feet when 50 foot is required. This is to remove an existing non-conforming house and construct a new single-family home on a non-conforming lot of record, which is located at 7195 Lake Lane, parcel 0831479008, which is in the R1A single-family neighborhood. You ready?
I am. Thank you.
How are you? My
Good,
name
how
is
are you?
Jim. Who am I speaking with?
I'm Justin Ryuta, 7195 Lake Lane. My wife Robin's there. Thank you for hearing our variance request. For those of you who are not aware of Lake Lane or have not been on it, we are a private road with 6 total homes on it. We are bounded on one side by a railroad track and bounded on the other side by the lake, and the road ends at the lake. We have, again, 6 homes on that lot. Our home is a non-conforming lot that was built on 2 separate occasions. One is a prefabricated structure, and another one was a renovation that was done long before we bought the property. We bought the property in 2020 as a second home, and now this is our primary home that we intend to live in for the duration of our lives. Based on that, the current home has some structural elements to it that needs to be redone. The foundation is sagging, the floors are sagging. As I sent to you guys, we need to redo this home in the foundation and make it one viable long-term structure. Based on that, we put drawings together requesting a home that would provide us our family home and a durational home or generational home that would be sustainable for us. In the renderings that we sent, we took into account the existing setbacks from the home that we had, and we accommodated those. The existing setbacks are consistent with the variance except for the rear variance or the lake side variance. The rest of them are fairly consistent with the existing structure that exists in that area. The one extension that we did request was for an extension of the home kind of front to back so we could put a master bedroom in there in the event that we get old enough that we can't go up the stairs. And also a rear covered porch so that we could have an area to have covered area for viewing of the lake. In taking into account our neighbors, we have consulted with all our neighbors. They have all signed off on this project. In no means does our design or build impact anybody's line of sight or affect anybody's access to their home or the road access. In addition, the setbacks from the lake that we have is 26.7 feet. Our neighbor setbacks are 21, 26, and 30 feet along the lane. So it's consistent with the character of the street that we have. So that's the basis for our request for variance.
Great, I appreciate that. So it's a unique lot, also another very cool street in the township. So it's a tear down other than the shed.
Yeah, we're going to be removing the shed.
That's going
so
down
that
too.
will remove one obstacle there.
And Mr. Carlisle's office put together, you guys probably provided a nice graphic that kind of overlays the existing home with the new footprint.
Correct.
We'll get into it. I mean, we have to kind of go through this. We've got we've got a non-conforming lot issue. We've got practical difficulties that can be discussed. We've got a lot of variances. So we'll try and go through this as organized as possible. The audience is seeing that we're going through a lot of different changes here. We're as I said, adding rigor to our review of the ordinance and our setting these cases, and so appreciate everyone's patience going through that with us. Taking them out of order, but one at a time. I don't want to say the one, but the one that catches me right away is a single side yard variance of 3.4 feet when 5 foot is required. Now, this is a non-conforming lot of record, so it does allow it to go down to a 5 foot, but you're asking for a little bit more, 3.4. What that does to me is that encumbers the neighbor's property, because the Michigan Fire Code requires 10 foot between buildings.
Okay.
And so if we were to consider allowing you less than 5, that means that theoretically, if your neighbor came to us next month and asked the very same request, they wouldn't be entitled to that, because you're essentially pushing them further than potentially the ordinance would allow them under a non-conforming lot to that 5 foot. So that's one that jumps out at me, of, you know, one that, you know, one of the things that we looked at is, does it harm the neighborhood? Does it, you know, unreasonably change the character? This neighborhood has a lot of character. Obviously, everyone has tight setbacks, but that one, I think, to me, without understanding the building plan a little bit more, encumbers your neighbor's ability to expand their house potentially at one time. That may be tied together with the fourth request, which is that combined setback. Again, if we're looking at the minimum fire distance, I think we've got to look at with the assumption that all neighbors would do the same thing. And so the two side yard setbacks, without going a whole lot deeper yet on the other ones, are the ones that jump out to me that I'd really have to understand why they were being requested architecturally. Are there options to do it? But that's at least where I would start. And maybe we go down the road, because maybe my fellow members will have similar circumstances. The front yard seems to be consistent with the existing home. Obviously, there's essentially no driveway, but that's similar to what it is now. The rear yard variance, I want to understand, again, a little bit more. When I see variances of 4 foot, 50 is required, 46 is being requested. You know, is there a way to lessen that or get around that? And then I also want to understand a little bit more the setback from the body of water as it relates to the existing home, the future home, because that setback is obviously important. So those are my thoughts, guys. Maybe before we ask the applicant for a response, we could get any other questions out there.
I guess the main thing for me is I don't understand it seems like the predicate for all of this is that the home is falling apart. And I don't get that from the information submitted. I saw the pictures with the rulers and all that, but I'm not an engineer. It doesn't mean anything to me, and we're supposed to be looking at substantial evidence for any of these predicates, so it's not clear to me that we have that from the information presented. My second comment would be that I picked up on the same things you did. I have a question for our consultants as well. In the report that you gave us, you referenced the master plan for this property, which is recreation conservation.
Yeah.
Which to me suggests that we should be not denying this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what the suggestion was.
No.
This is the first for me to see the master plan being raised on a variance request. And since the rest of the neighborhood is very likely to remain, it would seem to be futile to think that this is all going to become recreational and conservation. And maybe the master plan was a pipe dream and we should ignore it?
No, I think it was a little overzealousness in terms of some mapping work, to be very honest. So, I don't think there was any intention, knowing what the property is owned, that would be an unusual circumstance in the township for existing residential property to be designated for recreation conservation. So I would say to you that petition issue is not relevant, but the existing zoning of it is the most relevant, is relevant.
Okay, I accept that in this specific case. I would like this to also be a bit of a learning opportunity. Is the master plan typically a consideration in the granting of a variance or denial of a variance?
It doesn't, it doesn't have a real basis in both the ordinance nor with law. I mean, it can be some guidance to you from that standpoint, but certainly you have to respect what the underlying zoning of it is and what the request is relevant to the zoning.
On the other hand, the master plan was mentioned in the report coming from the consultants.
I think it was there for informational purposes, but I went back because it was brought to my attention that I had.
You personally may not have included it?
Pardon me?
You personally may not have included it if you had authored the report?
I would have personally have included it, but perhaps made a notation that I think that designation was made in error.
Okay,
Fair enough.
that's it for now.
I have no questions right now.
I also in agreement with Mr. Wallace regarding the, I saw the pictures of the measurement, but lacking an actual, a structural engineer report to prove what's actually failing out there. I'd like to be able to see that. And the other thing is that we have to look at, is this something that was, this hardship was caused by yourself, basically, or somebody else with the property. So I went and looked back, and I see there was a variance given, and I see that, and I think this, where the structural engineer report will help, is that there was a variance given to already expand this back in 2005. And I don't know if they built on top of a manufactured home. I don't know, if part of that addition was on top of the manufactured home, and is that what's causing this to be a problem? Is this something that could be fixed? Because essentially what could happen is if you determine you want to tear it down, you may not get even the same footprint that you have now. I don't know, but that is a consideration.
Can I chime in? I'm Paul Sammartino, I'm the architect working with these folks. Just, if we do tear this house down and okay, now we gotta deal with these setbacks, you can't fit anything on this home, on this lot. I mean, the building envelope is basically unbuildable. So in that case, we approached the design, we kind of started with where the garage currently is, and we worked backwards, but trying to get a house that was built, I don't even know when, to today's standards with their kids and their growing family. Nothing on this house is overly designed. Everything's pretty minimal with today's standards. So, and I do see, I totally agree with the westerly setback of 3.5, or 3.6. But, the homes on either side are established. They're not really going anywhere, but I don't think they're gonna be coming in trying to encroach on that fire situation. So I think those things should be considered. And as far as the lake setback, yeah, I mean, we're about where the existing home is, and if we conformed, I mean, again, there's nowhere to go with this lot,
So my point being is, one of the things that we have to look at is if these requirements, that we have to look at if they were created by the current or previous owner.
Yeah, one of the things that we found with the structure of the home when we moved in was that one of the support beams from the east side of the home was removed, and that, in the prefabricated home, the support beam on the top was removed, and that created the sagging of the house, which we were unable to correct. We put another support beam in there, but we were unable to correct it. We also have some foundational issues with the crawl space, with water in the crawl space at this point, and the crawl space is not level also. So those are a couple of things that we've dealt with. The crawl space is partially over the prefabricated home and the newly constructed home. I don't know the details of the newly renovation in 2005, but it looks as if that was done off this existing foundation that existed for years and years prior to that.
Right, so that's why we look at, even prior to you owning it, was this a self-created issue? Was this a self-created difficulty?
Yeah.
And what happens is, as soon as you tear down that house, then that really is a self-created difficulty. And now we're pressed to look at the situation to say, okay, well, you tore down the house. We didn't have any plans to sit, you know what I mean? We had nothing to look at to determine why you tore down your house. So now we have to look at it as, well, you created a problem by tearing down your house. And then you would like to request a variance to build a bigger house. So those are the things that we have to look at. And I think it's tough to make that decision, at least without, at minimum, a structural engineer report.
Okay.
That's mine. Yes.
Again, I'm just thinking of questions I'm gonna have when.
Yeah.
So let's just say this design respected the 5-foot easterly setback, and it respected the 10-foot westerly, so we have our 15 feet, correct? You still can't build this house without encroaching in the front, or I guess you could on the lake, but not really, because rooms can't be 8-10 feet wide. They need to be big enough to fit furniture in. Just a question, if we came back with another proposal that respected the side yards, do we have a shot at an encroachment on the street and on the lake, as you see?
Well, for my personal opinion, I can't make that determination without all the rest of the information. So I would be unfair to give you that situation based on, if we think that you could repair the house, or it could be. Well, all I'm suggesting is if you tear this house down, you're gonna lose the footprint. Right? And you would want that information, at least so we can give you the information to say, well, here's your alternatives. Maybe we don't recommend you tear it down. This is very complicated to an extent, right? So, and those are just,
Sorry, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Give us your name and address, please.
Robin Ryuta, 7195 Lake Lane, Justin's Lake. So if we find that the structure is fine and you guys would not want us to tear it down, my question is, okay, the width of it, my understanding right now, is already encroaching upon our neighbors, right? So if that's the case, do we even have any room to come back and say, okay, we're gonna remodel, but can we also go towards the lake and towards the road? But now we're keeping it wider. Does that make sense?
It's difficult for us to say, to negotiate without a plan, but
No, not negotiate. I'm just saying, is that even, and
well,
is that something, is that what you're trying to advise us to do?
Well, Mr. Hayward, and you can continue to give us thoughts. My point of view is I'm not sure that, for me, I need to see a structural engineer, because frankly, I'm not a structural engineer to say, if you come back and say, well, the second floor is about to fall down, who am I to, validate that? So I look at it, I don't necessarily look at it as a self-created, the fact that any house needs to be renovated, or it's old, or it has, probable structural issues, or frankly, maybe you just had triplets and you need a bigger home.
Right.
There's a lot of different things. So I don't necessarily.
That would be a hardship.
That would be a
Yeah, there you go.
Self-created.
I don't necessarily know that I would interpret that as a self-created, the fact that you may do some renovation or complete tear down of a home. My current interpretation would certainly may be different from other board members. So I look more at the unique quality, character of this property, the impact to the neighbors, or what that is. Look at the reasonable setbacks and understanding building codes and fire codes and things like that, so we're not creating hazards. I do want to know more about the setback to the lake, because, you know, that does impact not only your immediate neighbors, but the entire township and certainly all the residents on that lake potentially. So I want to understand a bit more about that. But, you know, again, I'll open it back up to you, Mr. Hayward, if you have more thoughts on that. I again, don't look at it as a self-created, just the very fact of filling out an application and saying we want to do this to our house. It's a question of, you know, are there other things on here that could be worked within reasonable setbacks for me?
That makes sense.
If I may.
Please.
So the hurdles for me are what I think I said earlier about the sort of engineering predicate. So the building structure is not sound, and we're gonna replace it, but we're gonna make it bigger. So just because the building's not sound doesn't mean we can grant a variance to make it bigger. And that relates to the case we just did, because this does increase the nonconformity.
Correct.
So that's the second item. I, like you, I don't have a problem. I don't believe it's self-created because they haven't torn it down yet.
Right.
And they're not going to until they figure out what.
That's
we're-
why I'm just kind of,
Yeah, I understand, but I don't have a problem with that. So for me, it is, really goes back to that, is there a different solution? Is this the only solution that there can be? Because we are expanding the nonconformity.
Can I
And that
ask
may,
you,
and that may be okay, I think, as you go through the worksheet for the nonconformity and for the variance for that matter. I can hit most of those indicia. What I'm having difficulty when it gets right down to it is your problem is that the building is not sound. We're not just gonna rebuild one on the same footprint, we're taking this as an opportunity to expand the footprint. Is that absolutely necessary, and what makes that absolutely necessary?
it's
So
a very narrow house on like the one side, I will say. So like, right, the garage is attached and then the other side is narrow. And like we said, if we were to put a master bedroom on the first floor, because we hope to age there, there really isn't a lot of living space left. So we were hoping to go, you know, towards the road where the garage already is, right? Not take it any further out, but just keeping with that, and not even the whole area, just part of it, so that that room could go there, if that makes sense. I don't know, I mean, you guys have the plans.
Overlay diagram where there's three colors, would you please?
One of the challenges that we have with the house is when they built the garage it's supposed to be a two-car garage and is not. It doesn't have the depth or the width for two cars. And so in order to create an actual two-car garage that we could park in, that would need to be extended backwards 5 feet, and that's one of the basis for making the house a little bit
Closer
front to
the
back, a little closer, so that we could actually accommodate. So really, the biggest changes are going to be the master bedroom on the first floor, the accommodation of two cars, which creates less parking issues on that road, helps our neighbors. And then with that change in the footprint, that creates a little bit more length to the house. And understanding your concerns about the width.
Mhm.
It's a difficult situation, but what you're, in a sense, asking us to do, I mean, as you've heard with the prior ones, as you sat here and listened, we have a whole set of indicia that we're supposed to run down, and I'm just having trouble making those match.
Okay.
For the reasons I've stated.
Yeah, one of the things is, and the things I go back to, is the character of our street and the specific restrictions with that type of component, and
And
how
I-
our homes are. We're not embarking on anybody else or inhibiting them or inhibiting lake access or view at all. We have a very, I mean, people can't look at the lake from the train tracks.
Yeah.
Sure, and we were there. I experienced that.
Oh, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Try it in the winter.
Try it in the
And,
winter.
cross my fingers that I could get out. In winter, I can't imagine. And poking your nose out onto what is a busy road, but it is also possible that we're setting a precedent here because, at least from outward appearances, there are more difficult properties on that road. Properties that could come back here to us and say, you know, we got problems with our house, we want to expand it. And now all of a sudden, we've put all these Bigfoots on this very unusual property, which probably was never intended to be for permanent homes in the first place. And we deal with that a lot in this township.
So Neil, you had referenced again, trying to give as much information as you had referenced our checklist, in which we can share with you, of course. But you said there's a few
I
that you're
can't-
having trouble with.
Well, number one, one of the add-ons is we're supposed to have substantial evidence of all this, and I don't think I have substantial evidence in the sense that I can understand it. Maybe that's my fault, because I'm not an engineer, but I don't have something that I feel comfortable that I know there's a genuine problem there. And then, that's the predicate for saying, well, we don't want to just rebuild the house on the same footprint. We want to take this opportunity, because the house is no good, to expand it.
So I would.
And not casting any aspersions, but we would be in a situation where somebody could come to us and say, in their heads, they're saying, how are we going to expand this house? Well, it's got problems, right? So if you work it backwards that way, I think we have an obligation to make certain that that predicate is substantially proven to us.
I would disagree from the point of view that if they came to us and said, we've got this house, we're gonna tear it down, and we're gonna build the exact same house on top of it, we wouldn't be asking for a structural engineer to say whether that's valid or not. In my mind, it's almost irrelevant why you wanna tear it down. Maybe you want $1 million and you wanna spend it on a new house. The real question is should it be expanded, in my mind? So I don't necessarily need structural evidence that it should be torn down. It's just, in my mind, it's a question of should it be expanded?
I don't disagree with you, except that we're being presented with this as, let's say, a device to persuade us that we've got, and I know this isn't our standard, but it almost goes to the use variance standard to say we have this hardship, right? We have this problem that this house is basically not going to be habitable, could fall down.
And I may be misinterpreting. My point is, that's irrelevant to me. You're allowed to tear down your house. It's just a question of what size can you rebuild it?
Okay.
But
And I think, again, can I?
Please.
Just from, because at some point we gotta decide if we're gonna do anything with this property, but my understanding is the side yards are the critical thing here. This lot is unbuildable if we were not granted a front or lake, or for sure a front yard setback, and we're really not going any farther towards the lake than what the current house is.
we're looking, and we don't have all of our technology. We're looking at a graphic here. I don't know if you supplied this.
Yeah, was there the overlay on there?
Yeah, the way I interpret that is the orange house, the orange shape is the existing house, the pink is the new.
Can I look up there?
Yeah, for sure, and it's going back like an extra 15 or 16 feet.
Right, this box is an outdoor patio.
But it's not a structure, it's not a house.
It's a structure, but it's not heated, it's a patio. It does have a roof, but it is not technically the house.
Okay.
So the main line of the home that would be torn down, it does jog, but we're keeping it in general as to where it is. And we're, like I said before, we're keeping the garage in the general location, and we're filling in this area. Now, I think we could strategically bring this house in to meet the 5 and 10. But if we are not gonna, if we're not gonna get a variance for anything, then it's a moot point, because that's our envelope. That blue box is what's allowable.
I think anybody would agree that the envelope isn't buildable.
We can't put that up on the screen?
The guys on TV, I don't know if you can hear us, we're looking at page 3 of the Carlisle review letter for 7195. Let's see if I can get you a slide number of that. You're able-
82.
Slide 82 of the packet? You are listening, thank you.
So, as you can tell, we're trying to follow requirements of the state and the township And in my mind, I want to do everything I can to help you make that piece of property more presentable to our township. That is not an acceptable criteria, okay?
I understand.
But for me, the side yard
Thank you.
total, good. And include the wording on the right, if you're still listening to us. Try and compromise there a little bit.
Right
Yes,
there?
much better. So the side yard setback has to happen in my mind. And then I'm a
Okay.
little bit worried about the water side. But you're explaining that to me as there's maybe a screened-in porch that you want to put in there. But from a building department, I believe we considered that as part of the structure. Is that true?
Yes.
And is that, what elevation would that be at?
The floor is at grade. So
At
you
grade.
step out of the house, you're at grade.
Okay.
But there is a roof to protect you, obviously, if it were raining.
Okay,
A non-conditioned deck, but with a roof,
Correct. Patio, right.
it becomes part of the structure.
It is.
Okay.
so when we look at our standard, you are in violation of that. So I guess that makes me a little bit nervous, staying away from the water, I think is a general topic that should be seriously considered.
And our, I guess, rebuttal, as Justin mentioned, is it isn't blocking anyone's view. We understand we have to respect,
I
and
understand.
we're already encroaching
Understand.
anyways.
And it's already it has hardscape and a
Chimney. And a
fireplace that was, that we did put in. So we're not taking grass away from the lake, I guess you could say. It's
Yeah.
already,
Hard surface.
it's already a hard surface.
Yeah, I'm not worried about what type of surface it is. I'd be, if you want to go out in the deep, with my thought there is, if there was a major flood and there was damage to your house, then, we're maybe causing a liability issue because we said it was okay to put that patio on, That's kind of my thought, not,
You mean just a cover? Is
whatever
that-
potential damage
I see.
because of the lake on something that shouldn't be there, is something of my concern.
Okay.
But if it didn't have a roof, it could be there. It's patio.
That's correct.
Correct,
Got it.
correct. Your roof is supported with a foundation though, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So my
in an-
thought was turning the home into to where we have a lot of, this is just side note, a lot of out-of-town family. And so when they get, being able to
Yeah.
use it more than our Michigan summers.
Right.
But I hear what you're
I
saying.
understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you, but I'm also
Yeah.
trying to follow some very strict rules that we have.
Understand.
So I think your side yard setback could probably be dealt with pretty easy. The lake,
Anytime at all to enclose this.
the setback from the water is a bit more of a challenge for you, I think. And I wanted this up to make sure we understood the differences between what's there, which is in the purple dotted line, is that right?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
The purple dotted line.
The
is
purple
original.
hash line shows the building envelope, no. The red, the yellow footprint shows the existing single-family house. So it's the
Right.
yellow that's existing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this purple deal here.
Yeah, I
is-
understand.
Yeah,
What you'll never use, right?
correct.
So
Okay.
that's what we were saying,
You
the
can't-
one side is already there encroaching upon the neighbor.
Right.
The other side, we were already coming in.
Yeah, we're lessening this encroachment.
Yep.
But we're still encroaching, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward, any other thoughts?
Yeah, so just so you understand, so what we have to look at is you have a non-conforming structure currently. And our ordinance says that, and you've heard me repeat it with my last motions and everything else, but we're not supposed to increase the nonconformity. So once you start adding to the back of that house, you have a line that's there that is now, we're increasing the nonconformity. And this is the question that I really have is, once you tear down the house, where do we start from? Do we set a precedent to say, well, if you don't like your house, you can tear it down, but we'll let you build it back on the same exact footprint? Because,
Well, we don't want them to do that either, though.
no, I'm just saying going forward, and generally speaking, right? So if we do it for you, then the next person comes in and they live on it differently.
But this case is different because we're actually taking existing footprint and putting it in a better condition.
I,
In another area, we're putting it in a worse condition. So how do we split the difference, or how do we?
So the very next section from the one we dealt with Dixie Highway says that if the non-conforming structure or non-conforming portion of a structure be destroyed by any means to an extent of more than 100% of the state equalized value at the time of destruction, it shall not be reconstructed except in conformity with the provisions of this article. So, again, it would mean you can't, even if it was destroyed, you couldn't build it except in the existing footprint.
so I want to clarify.
Just, it's not necessarily the rule that governs us. I provide that as a notion of how we should be thinking about it.
So I want to clarify the existing footprint because I'm unclear. I visited the home. I did not go in the backyard, so I think I need to go back and do that. But I'm looking on Google Earth, and that might not be up to date. But you're telling me, like I see the yellow and the pink, and this shows the back line. In fact, one of the drawings that you submitted has a balcony. But what you're telling me is that this entire area
Is paved.
it's paved, but where's the roof?
There's no roof now.
There's no roof
Oh,
now.
there's no roof
No,
currently.
the roof is proposed.
Got it.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
paved.
We were just hoping
So,
to cover it because
going
the
back to my-
umbrellas on the lake go, you know,
Understood. So going
gone.
back to my point, the existing structure ends here.
Correct.
The
Yes.
proposed structure comes out.
Yes.
It's, yes.
So we're expanding the existing structure. We've kind of resolved the front. The existing garage is here. If we look at the last case, adding this but not forward of this essentially does that. Where I've been struggling with is this understanding of where is this roof? And I guess I misunderstood when we were talking earlier there.
Okay,
So there's a substantial
Yes,
expansion
that's
in
what
the
I
back
believe
proposed.
Mr. Zerk was saying, yes.
Okay.
But
Is that
again.
how you guys understood it?
Yes. In a negotiation, though, we could, again, it's their project.
Okay.
We can take that roof off and deal with it with a canopy that you buy that is expandable.
It's,
Right, so
this
to me, the
whole
heated
lower
house-
area is open air, but with a
Yes,
proposed
it
roof.
was
Right.
just, because, I mean, honestly, like, it is more expensive, but I was like, you put umbrellas out there, you can put 1,000 weights down on them, and these things are coming over, they're coming right at the house.
It's not bedrooms, it's not walls,
Correct. No, no,
it's,
no.
it's an open
It's
pavilion.
blows
open,
right through,
completely
yeah. Got it.
open,
Once the roof is in place,
but it does become a
That's
structure.
Yeah,
not only is it a structure, but it could be
Well,
enclosed.
totally enclosed and it wouldn't come to us.
Correct,
Yes.
right. So that's where I kept going in terms of the
Yep.
expansion. I think it truly is a fairly significant expansion, assuming it has a roof.
Are there other structures that are out there that are not considered part of the house? I mean, you know, some aluminum, some, you know, I can't think of what it is, but,
You mean
Some-
like the new, like, tops that they have where you can open and close them, like shutter things, those things, is that what you're talking about?
yeah,
Like
maybe.
patio covers?
I don't know, that,
But,
you would, I mean, you wouldn't have a foundation, but you'd have to anchor it so it doesn't blow,
Yeah, those-
whatever, that's not, we're trying to.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
not redesign, but.
Yep.
So, again, in the spirit of moving and giving direction or making decisions, we've got a case here, an applicant that's requesting 5 variances. We've talked through, I think, all of them. I don't know if I've gotten clarity yet on the setback from the body of water, but we can talk about that. Is there any direction, questions, additional information? We talked about structural information that may help determine this. Where are we going, gentlemen?
Is the front yard The number that's on our sheet, is that from here?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Under that road. 5.5 feet.
So,
It's in that corner.
Item,
5.5
item,
feet.
item one in your request is not changing from your current to, okay. Item two, rear yard, that's what we're having a hard time with.
Right.
Okay, so I would be inclined to make a motion to accept one, but reject two.
Okay.
And then three, single side yard, well, 3 and 4, in my mind, I would combine and say you have to meet the requirement of a total of 15 feet.
Okay.
And a minimum of 5.
In the minimum, yeah, you'd have to make sure you understand
Okay.
5.
That's for side yard?
Sides, yes. And then, why am I mixed up? Rear yard is
The-
labeled
the
as 2
water
and then
setback.
5. What was the
No.
issue with 5 and 2?
5 is to go up, isn't it?
No, 5 is the water setback.
Well, if the patio is no longer enclosed
Then that
with the
changes.
roof, then you will, that lessens your encroachment, or,
It makes it the same as the encroachment now.
correct, yeah.
So we would deny the rear yard.
Right.
Or we would modify it. We would submit a modified version.
How so?
No, I think
No, I
we
think,
would modify the sides and then keep the rear and front
The
as you guys.
sides I understand, but
Correct.
there's also a problem with the rest of the board with respect to the,
I think, wasn't there, if we wanna,
No, I thought there was a water.
oh, it was the water?
Yeah.
Because I thought we had to have a variance even if we were going up, that's considered a variance.
No.
No, if the rear
Yeah.
patio, we'll call it, does not have a roof over it, does that eliminate
That.
2 and
variance.
5?
Right, that's the question, correct.
yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
so
The water and
is the,
Well, it may lessen it.
Unless we still need a variance,
You
but
might,
it's
you
less.
might still need a variance, but it'll lessen that
But it would-
request.
why?
But we
also-
could say in a motion that as long as it doesn't go beyond the existing home.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, that's your decision, yeah. Yeah.
In that scenario, would not be expanding the
Yeah, you
non-conformity.
would,
Right.
yeah.
Correct.
Right, and we would be actually saving, we would be making one non-conforming side yard better, correct?
Well, to
But
meet the
if-
15, we have to.
Understand that,
Right.
but compared to the existing house,
Correct.
Yes.
which is like right on, the property, I don't know how
Property
far that is, but.
Okay.
Okay, so.
But we're getting dangerously close to not needing any of these variances.
I'm sorry, what, Jim?
I said, we're getting dangerously close to not needing any variances. We're affirming the 5.5 foot, it's not changing on the front. We're affirming the back, it's not changing because in the scenario it wouldn't be covered. And we're,
Well, the back, how
I
is
didn't
that?
know I didn't hear the discussion on the front, then I missed that. I thought it was the side we said had to be 5 on the one side, total of 15. And with respect to the water body, no covered roof that would extend beyond the existing line on the water body.
my assumption with the front was that the existing condition would be allowed to remain, and there's not further encroachment.
But has that already been approved? Or has that already had a variation? Is it
Variance.
variance?
So,
I don't know.
Yes, there was a variance granted on this
2005.
property in
For the front?
2005.
For the
Yes,
front?
yes, for front setback, that's why the garage is so close to the
Okay,
street.
so we're gonna meet here.
so,
I have a copy of it if you'd like to see it,
Oh,
but. Copy of it.
so we just push this back on the building department again, you're saying?
no.
No.
let's- May I try to get through this so I
Please,
understand?
please.
So, the first one is a front yard variance for 5.5 feet when 40 is required, but that is the existing situation.
That's my understanding.
Item one, yep.
According to these drawings, correct.
And that's why you're saying It's not really a variance.
It's not further encroachment into an already approved variance.
But it's presented here as a variance request. Let's call it a variance.
I will call it a
Trying to
variance.
keep it simple, yes.
And a rear yard variance to allow 46 when 50 feet is required. That's the water, right?
Two
Oh,
and
no,
five
there's a
are
water body.
combined.
Okay, so the rear yard and the water, but I guess that's where I'm getting confused. What's the distinction? Because they're both 50 feet, right? Why is 26 and the other's 46? Because one's the house and the other's the covered porch?
Yeah, that's
No.
correct.
Just where you're measuring from.
And the lake kind of curves there in that area a little bit.
So in this case, it doesn't seem as though they're consistent based on the aerial, because the rear property line seems to go out into the water a little bit, although there's a big tree there, it's hard to tell. But again, I'm assuming that what the applicant has said is, if we don't put a roof on the deck, then according to their drawings, the rear of the new home is at the furthest point of the rear of the existing home.
Correct.
Which one, but
It's squared up a little bit more.
okay, but number 2 is the rear yard variance, number 5 is the variance from the water body. One is 26.7 feet when 50 is required, and the other is 46 when 50 is required.
Right, two different standards and where you're measuring from, the water or the property line.
I see.
The water, if you look at slide 81,
So how do those two change if the covered patio is eliminated?
Somehow we reference that it cannot go beyond the existing house.
No, I'm asking about because Jim said, well, we're getting it to where no variances are required. And so
Let's,
that's my question is,
Let's
are
not-
one of those two variances still required if there's no roof over the patio?
There may still, yes, there may still be, there may
a
still.
nominal number,
Right.
You'll need a
less than.
lakeside variance.
Yeah. I think the,
So 2 would be denied? The rear yard?
No, 2 would be a smaller number. Well, if it's 46, then I would think that it would not be required, because presumably if that roof goes away, then we're greater than 50 foot from the property
that's
line,
possible.
So 2 is denied,
because it's a 4-foot difference now.
all right? The 2 side yards, 3 and 4, are total of 15 and a minimum of 5.
yes.
And number 5 is, the request was to have 26.7 feet when 50 is required. Is there still a variance required there?
The 26.7 is the existing home.
I'm sorry?
The 26.7 is the existing corner of the home that we have now to the water.
From the water.
From the water right now,
That
that's the
would be
existing
needed.
corner
It's
there.
consistent with the existing home.
But is that a variance?
Well, if
One was already granted.
If one was granted, it would be a variance. Yeah,
I don't know
I'm sorry,
if
if one was
I-
granted, it
That's
would,
part of the
I'm
new
trying to
home.
fashion a motion, okay?
do you know if that one was granted?
I
said you had.
have it here, if you'd like to see it.
I thought
I
it
didn't
was
give
in
a
the
copy for it,
Carlisle.
but there's the copy of the previous variance from 2005. So I'm gonna just ask a question. Say they already tore down the house, and they came to us and said, we wanna build it, we're gonna build a new house. They didn't, they got permission to tear it down, whatever. I don't believe you need a variance to tear down your house, correct?
Demolition permit.
You need demolition.
So and then they came and they said, we wanna build a new house. So would they need a new variance for all the things that they wanted to do?
If they have not retained any of the above the structure, the foundation itself doesn't, if they retain any of the existing structures for which the setbacks are retained, they would not need those, they would have retained,
They could still build in the old footprint.
yeah.
That's why you oftentimes see a house being rebuilt, but if they have one wall
Right.
Okay.
So the question is, are you replacing your foundation as well? Because you did state that it was bad.
That was
Well,
our,
that was.
that was
what
our
our-
intent, yeah.
So
What
you're
they're
gonna replace,
requ-
this is gonna be a whole brand-new building house.
That was
right?
our intent,
So they
but-
would need a variance.
Yes.
So then what we need to do is create a variance that would replicate the current footprint.
Yeah, and that,
Which is apparently the number 5.
Okay,
but shouldn't you, are you trying to take action on this tonight?
Yes,
please.
but what I heard from somewhat of a consensus was that we don't want a roof over the patio.
Right.
And the side yards have to be total of 15 and 5 to a side.
Yep.
Then we so that's, I think, easy to figure out and to state. But then we get these other ones, and I don't know where we're at on them.
Well, let's take them one at a time. The front one, 5.5, is an existing condition and was approved in 2005 or 2002, so that's an existing variance to allow the corner of the garage where it is and where it's proposed to be. If according to the drawing, the existing house doesn't extend, not counting a uncovered deck, doesn't extend further than the existing house, the only information I have to go on, the applicant just said this existing 26.7 is the dimension from the existing house to the water's edge. If you look at the packet, the property line, like most lakes, goes into the water. So that would make sense why the rear yard was only a 46-foot difference, and this is 26, because roughly 15 foot of their property is in the water. So if we're gonna rely on this information, the existing structure and the proposed structure will both be 26.7 feet from the water line, where 50 foot would be required. So essentially, again, relying on this information, we would be granting an existing condition variance, if you will. Does that make sense?
So if I were to say, we grant a variance for the side yards, a total of 15, minimum of 5 to one side. And we deny the water body setback.
But we're not gonna need a variance for the side yards.
'Cause we were gonna
we will
comply.
You'll comply with the ordinances, the 5 and 15 is complying with the ordinance.
Oh,
We will need the water body setback, but we won't need the rear yard setback. Because the rear yard was triggered by
The patio.
the covered patio.
Is that true?
Yeah.
We would only be asking for that.
And it-
Then,
okay.
yes.
So that could be just dropped.
Yes.
When we submit, that'll be gone, right?
This, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the picture, so this patio is also partially enclosed? The side, you had walls up on the side as
They were,
well?
yeah, just screen
Okay.
walls for privacy.
Well, they look like stone on here, so.
They were, yeah,
Oh, okay.
but those would be gone.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't,
Oh,
want-
I
I
see.
wanted screens,
Okay.
so, just for
Okay.
To
bugs.
look.
Bugs and look, yeah. I just wanted the roof and then screens, that would go up and down,
How are you doing, Neil?
not closed in all the time.
Mhm.
Close?
it's time for a break, I think. Maybe a different way to say it is that they are conditions, that the variances are granted.
With the following
Well,
conditions.
the condition is that the roof, there would be no roof over the patio, no structure in that area, and that the side yard setbacks would conform to the requirements of 5 and 15.
And you
I don't know.
fit on the front setback.
Well,
You
you
don't
would otherwise
expand on it.
conform, you would otherwise conform with the existing footprint.
Yes. I could support that.
Okay.
Let me try.
Go for it.
Please.
Do you have any other comments,
Can I
questions?
just wanna make
Go
sure
ahead.
we're clear,
Please.
just so I don't go back to my office and go crazy. The existing house jogs, we understand that, but the new house will not encroach the farthest point, but it will fill in that spot.
Understood. That's my, and likewise on the front of it.
And here's another caveat. I'm gonna hold this, but right now this house is on an angle, it's not parallel. it's getting closer and closer to the point where I'm not gonna meet my 5 feet. So I'm gonna have to pivot from this corner, maintaining my 5.5, so I can, just so we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
But I will
So-
still have 5.5 here.
It's too complicated for me.
So so
And in the back, 5.
geometrically, you could pivot that house any way you want.
As long as I'm not closer than
It could be
5.5.
completely parallel with the road, 5.5, but you just have to make sure that your back corner setbacks,
That's what I wanted to hear.
All right, thank you.
I'm good with it. It's on record.
it doesn't change anything. Essentially, what we have just done is define.
Let me say something else. I think because of the shoehorn nature of this place, the lake, the trains, the road, all of that, I don't have a problem with doing it. I'm concerned about it getting closer to the lake, and I want to make sure there's ample side yards for the whole fire thing. Beyond that, I think it's fine.
Right.
I agree. and
That's
I-
what I'm trying to get to.
And so we need to codify it, but we just did exactly what you said. Think of it, don't think of it as a house, think of it as setbacks. What we have essentially agreed to is that the front of the house can be no closer than 5.5 feet. They could create a rhombus and do that. The side yard, assuming this is the shallow one, has to be 5 foot all the way. This one would
That'll be
therefore
the
have to be
5 foot.
10 foot.
That'll be the 5 foot. It doesn't
Flip it
matter.
around, 10 foot, 5 foot here, 10 foot there, and that this back of the house, it cannot go closer to the lake, but it could be filled in. So essentially, we're defining setbacks on those numbers as opposed to the size of the house.
I'm gonna say this, and you're gonna tell me where I'm wrong. So I'll move to, with respect to case number 26004, on the conditions that the new structure comply with the side yard setbacks of 5 on one side and a total of 15 feet. We would end condition that there would be no enclosure as was proposed on the water side, the covered patio. That otherwise the variances would be granted, so it could be built in the existing footprint. And I say this because we find that there is substantial evidence in the record, including in the application and in these proceedings, that there are exceptional circumstances for this property which make compliance with the dimensional requirements substantially more difficult than would be the case for the great majority of properties in the same zoning district. Specifically, that everything there is overbuilt to very tight lots in a shoehorn neighborhood. That these characteristics, which make compliance with the dimensional requirements difficult, are related to this property and not some other property. These characteristics, which make compliance with the dimensional requirements, are not of a personal nature. These characteristics, which make compliance with the dimensional requirements difficult, were not and have not been created by the current or previous owner. And the proposed variances, other than the one accepted, would not be harmful or alter the essential character of the area in which the property is located, again, because of the shoehorn nature of the neighborhood. The proposed variances are the minimum necessary. Proposed variances we're allowing with the conditions are the minimum necessary and no different solution that would not require a variance. That with respect to the nonconformity standards, those are met because of the shoehorn nature, character of the neighborhood, and there would be no adverse effect on the other neighbors. So on this basis, we conclude that strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance involves practical difficulties. The public safety and welfare remain secure and substantial justice is done, and that the applicant, when applying for a building permit, will provide a survey which verifies all of these conditions and restrictions.
Second.
We have support, and we have a motion. Could you repeat that?
Sure. You just told us in that seminar last night, you weren't supposed to ask for it to be repeated.
No, they verified that the chair doesn't have to repeat it. First of all, thank you for that motion. I think, we'll talk more about our motions, and that's in big part to Benny and Dick's forms that you're now providing us. It allows us to make those motions, so thanks for setting that example, and we'll keep working on that. We have a motion, we have support. Do we have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I just wanted to add that it also does not enlarge or alter, it's not increasing the nonconformity as well as part of that decision, so.
We have an amendment to that. Do you accept?
I have no problem. I'll accept that amendment.
You supported it. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Zurich,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Mr. Epic.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys working with us. Thank you. Dave Moran's right in the back there. He's our building director, so you'll be working closely with him to make sure it all comes together. We're going to take a 5-minute break or a little bit less than that, just so we can all take a stretch our legs, call into recess. Back into order at 8:48. Thank you very much, and thanks for your patience. We are moving on to case number 4 of the evening, case 26-05, Chris Jones, petitioner requesting a front yard variance from section 4.06D, table 4.06, for 20 feet while 40 foot is required in order to construct a new single-family home on the west side of Clyce Drive, north of Hillview Shores, parcel 0801-426-010 in the R1A single-family neighborhood. So this is a vacant lot. You were here a few years ago. I won't steal all your thunder, but the ZBA gave a variance. At that time, the home was positioned differently. It sounds like through your due diligence of the property and some engineering, you determined that that was an unbuildable site, so you've modified the location, potentially the architecture, and you're back now for a variance on the same lot, but in different circumstance.
Yes, sir.
Give us your name, your address, and tell me what details I'm missing and what else we should know. Thank you.
Thank you very much for hearing us this evening, Board. I am here. My name is Michelle Spencer. I'm with Powell Engineering. I'm here on the behalf of Chris Jones, the petitioner. He has really done his due diligence on this lot. This lot is the definition of a non-self-induced hardship. The petitioner went through, got all of his permits with the house in a different area. He was here in 2024, where he was awarded a 12-foot rear yard variance, meeting all of the other requirements. He went through, and it was brought to the attention of him that a water main that was previously easemented under the parent parcel was not carried through properly through the tax ID numbers because it was older, and so it was lost in the process. When he found this out, obviously he found the proposed home had the water main running directly through the middle of it, taking that area of the lot away. The property is 1 acre in size. It has about a half an acre of upland. Unfortunately, the upland is a lot of the lot is still wetland, and you have the natural feature setback, and then obviously the front yard setback. If you look in your packages, I provided a plan showing the area that does actually meet the ordinance, and I think it was about 28 square feet of space that met the ordinance. Therefore, we are requesting a front yard variance of 20 feet, and that allows us to use the same foundation footprint that was designed for the lot on the other side. In the front is a very moderate sized home at about 1,500 square feet with a 2-car garage, 2-bedroom home, and the septic field that's necessary to go with it. We would be looking for the 20-foot front yard setback, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Is there also a well, or is it just septic? I guess you have a water line that's going through. You've got water closer than you ever wanted it.
That's exactly right. So it is proposed to be tied into the water main.
Okay. All right, I guess that makes sense. I didn't think of that. And so in this zoning district, a 40-foot front yard setback is required. You're asking for 50% of that, 20 feet. But I think it's important to note that that's to the right-of-way line as opposed to the edge of pavement. I don't think there's curbs in this neighborhood. It's kind of an open ditch, but what would you estimate is the amount of what's the distance between the right-of-way and the edge of pavement?
Well, the road right-of-way is 60 feet, so from the edge of road, it's a 20-foot wide road, 10-foot, so you've probably got about 36, 37 feet from the edge of road to the face of the house with the request.
And so that was my visualizing it from a driveway point of view. You'd have 36-plus foot driveway, which is probably similar to some of the adjacent homes.
Yeah, the goal was to be able to park one full car length within the property so that it wasn't sticking out in the road right of way. That, as well as there are public utilities in that front setback, which is why we chose where we did, because we didn't want to put it over any more public utilities. But that was, the goal was to keep it as close to the road, but without that being a negative impact to the neighborhood.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have for now. Who wants to go? Who's got energy? Now, it looks like, are these the applicants on line with us?
Yes, this is Chris Jones, the petitioner.
I'm sorry, say your name again?
My name's Michelle Spencer.
Michelle.
How you
Spencer.
doing?
Hi, Chris, how are you? Thank you for joining.
I'm Chris from April.
Nice to meet you, April.
Yep.
All right, great. Is there anything, before we bring it back to our board, anything additional? We kind of recapped, I'm not sure when you joined us, I apologize. We talked about what happened in 2024. We were brought up to speed with the discovered utility and the reason to move the house. And we were just walked through the current location, the distance from the right-of-way, the request for the front yard setback. Anything else at this point?
I think Michelle explained it. Michelle explained it well.
Great, thank you. You look like you had a thought, question, concern.
Me? No, as I went through the dimensional variance worksheet, I was able to hit all the indicators, so I think I'm fine.
Okay. David?
Same for me.
Same. Ken?
Were there any neighbors that had a issue or complaint or any letters from?
There were no correspondence that we got.
I can't seem to see the quality of the image. Do you know, is that my screen or?
How old are you now?
Oh. I got my glasses on. You can see all that?
Be careful, would you please, Jim?
There's a plus minus, you can increase the
Well, yeah, I know, but the more I increase it, it's like,
less you see.
It's a little blurry.
It might be the resolution of the drawing.
okay.
And I think that's the previous location. The next one is
The current one.
proposed, or maybe the previous one was the proposed location. It goes up
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
it's
sideways. Yeah, yeah,
parallel with the
yeah.
road. Why don't we pause here? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this case? Is there anybody online in addition? It looks like it's just the Joneses online. With that, I will close the public hearing. I'll bring it back to the board for any additional questions. We typically take 45 minutes or more on every case, so I'd like to drag this out. Dick, or perhaps Dave, could you, this was something I just wasn't used to seeing. We're doing a requested variance for the front yard, but there's a note on the drawing that the proposed setbacks to be approved by the building official, and the Carlisle report talks about that, and it's just something I just wasn't familiar with, that the building department administratively
I believe that's the
considers.
25-foot natural feature setback.
Is that,
That is written in a totally different way, and it gives the building department the ability to adjust that as necessary. And since we pushed that to the road as much as we felt comfortable with the public utilities, we kept it to a very minimal of what we are encroaching on the setback, not the actual natural features, but the setback to the natural features.
And right now in the drawing, it's 24 feet, right?
It's 24 feet to the wetland in the back, and I believe we were at 19 feet to the stream on the side. Like I said, this was definitely a hardship.
yeah,
So yes, the answer to that is yes.
it's typical administrative procedure.
Only in the case of things that do not require a site plan. So in other words, if it's a building official issue, if it's simply a building permit on a single lot that doesn't require a site plan, then it is a determination of the building official. Now, there is criteria in the ordinance that has to be followed, but it's still a building official determination.
Okay. It'd be different if this was a 5-unit neighborhood.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. All right.
And do we need to make that as a condition of our approval? There was something in the report
No,
about that.
because the ordinance is clear in terms of who has responsibility for granting any variation from a natural feature setback. So,
So we're not doing that.
you're not the body, right?
So we're just doing but we're not doing from the drain. We're not doing the one that's from the drain. We're just doing the rear yard and the
Just
front
the
yard.
front yard.
Just the front yard.
Yeah, just the front yard.
20-foot front yard setback. The other two are from the bodies of water, which are administrative jurisdiction.
Even the rear yard, huh?
Well, the rear yard is no longer necessary.
Oh,
They
We
do
had
meet-
to move it up to the front.
Yeah, they meet the rear yard setback.
The previous 2024 application was a rear yard. This has changed it, so it's a front yard.
Well, generally speaking, I want to support this, so what is anybody worried about, or?
I'll move to,
It's a little close to the road, but
yeah, I'll move to grant the variance in the front yard setback then to the 20 feet from the 40 feet required in case number 26-005. Because we find there is substantial evidence in the record, including the application and in these proceedings, that there are exceptional circumstances of this property which make compliance with the dimensional requirements substantially more difficult than would be the case for the great majority of properties in the same zoning district, specifically the existence of the water main and the irregular shape. To spell. These characteristics, which make compliance with the dimensional requirements difficult, are related to this property, not some other property. These characteristics, which make compliance with the dimensional requirements, are not of a personal nature. These characteristics, which make compliance with the dimensional requirements difficult, were not, and have not been created by the current or previous owner. The proposed variance will not be harmful or alter the essential character of the area in which the property is located, and the proposed variance is the minimum necessary, and there's no different solution that would not require a variance. So on this basis, we conclude that the strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance involves practical difficulties. The public safety and welfare remain secure, and substantial justice is done.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
Second.
Motion by Wallace, support by Hayward. Any discussion on the motion? We could have a roll call vote, please.
Yep. Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Mr. Zurich,
yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Epic.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate your detail, and continue to work with the
Thank you
building
very much.
department, and we'll get everything you need. Thank you, guys, appreciate you coming in tonight, or signing on.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Signing on. You look like you're somewhere nice, too.
Somewhere driving by.
We are in Arkansas, hence the reason our service dropped out, so.
Arkansas is
Sorry about
nice.
that.
All right, travel safely, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. With that, give me a minute to get organized. All right. Thank you for slugging it out with us. I will now call case number, make sure I'm on the right one, item number 5, case number 26-006, Jeffrey and Valerie Holderman, petitioners requesting 2 variances, the first being a front yard variance from section 4.06, table 4.06, for a 25.5-foot placement where a 40-foot is required, and the second, a rear yard variance from section 4.06, table 4.06, to allow 40.8 feet when 50 foot is required in order to construct an addition to an existing single-family home, which is located at 6628 Laurelton Drive, parcel number 0829201007, R1A, single-family district. A unique house, I'm sure you'll tell us about, half in the village, half in the township.
Yes, yes. Well, good evening. My name is Jeff Halderman. This is my wife Valerie Halderman. We live at 6628 Laurelton in Clarkston. And yeah, we'd like to, it's a unique house. We found out that we basically have half of our property is in Clarkston and then half is in Independence. So we have a unique situation where we had to ask for 2 municipalities for variances.
And you have to have it granted by both.
Correct. That was the recommendation, so we did that, and I think it's Jonathan Smith from the city of Clarkston has granted, it says no requirement for a variance from Clarkston.
Okay.
And he said then to move on to Independence Township, which we are doing tonight. So the history is we've lived in the home since 2002, and we now are getting along in age, and we'd like to stay in our home. So we want to add an addition out on to the east side of the house for 12 feet, so that we can effectively extend the master bedroom. So ultimately, we can bring up the laundry from the basement for a main floor laundry, and then add a master bath so that it would be wheelchair accessible. The reason why we want to grow old there and kids stay there. We love the village. We want to stay there. And I want to be able to make sure that we can stay there as we get older. My wife has a condition called polymyositis, which is much like muscular dystrophy. It's in remission right now, and so she can go up and down the stairs, but there could come a time when she is going to have a tough time going up and down stairs. So I want to make it easier on her and on us so that we can stay there.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for coming. So to be clear, and it's I don't want to say encumbered, but it's further the condition of the existing home is it's essentially on a corner. It almost has 2 fronts, one in the front and one in the back. It has a number. So from an application point of view, the front yard variance request for because it's about 15, a little less than 15-foot variance, is from the front yard. The rear yard is really just for a little less than 10 feet.
Yes.
Benny, am I right in thinking that the front yard is relating to what I think everybody would consider the front, where the front door is, which is on Laurelton, and the rear yard technically would be from Walden, or really from the creek, which might be the property line? Or is it from the township, or is it from the village line?
I mean, are you looking because of the shape? No, that it would be that rear,
creek.
that property line that's parallel to the front.
Got it. Okay. So,
So the property line that you see that's on an angle there would probably be considered to be a, well, I mean, it is on a, on a curved shaped lot, but yeah, I mean, it could essentially be considered, that could also be considered 2 front yards, really.
essentially parallel with the front, or perpendicular to the back of the house, perpendicular with the front of the house is
Right,
the
right.
setbacks we're considering.
Correct.
Got it. And it looks like your sketch, it's a 12-foot wide. It's not quite, doesn't come quite to the front of that garage. It's set back a bit, so.
It's to stay along with the roof line. So
Okay.
the existing garage, it would extend part of the garage, but it would stay with the roof line. So that's why it wouldn't necessarily come all the way out, so it would be further set back. So it'd be kind of like a place for storage,
Yep,
basically.
goes with that center peak,
Yep,
but doesn't include the gable.
correct.
Okay. And am I right in thinking that the addition would be similar material and architecture to the existing
Yes.
home?
That's the way.
Okay. Great. Gentlemen, let's just go free for all. Who's got thoughts or questions?
I don't have too much of a concern here. The dimension that's on the drawing, maybe, Jim, you can help me, it's 40.8 feet, and that's not to the property line. It looks like maybe the curvature of the water line, maybe, or something. Is that?
I think I just lost my place on this, but.
I mean, it's
Yes.
really a
Yeah, that's
water,
the creek. That's the creek back there.
right,
And that's the sea, that part's the sea.
right.
Yeah, that back line, if you look at the Carlisle report, that back line, if you ignore this diagonal, that back line is the property line, and so if the addition
Right,
Just 12
I
foot
understand,
that
but
goes-
just, the reference to 40.8 though is to, a line that's relative to the water, not, I don't think, to
That
the
is
property. And I don't think that's a concern. I just want to highlight that that's more of a water line, not a property line, I believe.
It may be both,
It's both.
oftentimes.
Both?
Oftentimes a property line will go through the center of a creek like that.
No, I think it'll be very beneficial to you, and I think there's plenty of room on your property to go out that side. I don't, right now, I don't have concern right now.
Thank you, Ken.
I kind of look at this like I did the last one we did a couple of cases ago,
Mhm.
but there's no question on the side yard, correct?
No.
It stays within the current front yard setback, actually a little bit less, and the rear yard setback is not changing. My only question is how does that work with the two different ones? Do we have to approve the rear yard as well? I mean, but it's not our municipality, so we're just technically looking at the front yard, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I guess,
Why are there two then? And there's,
I think partially because.
there's just one lot, but two tax ID numbers because of the city and the village.
Yeah, I mean, I think
The township.
partially the reason that was identified as a need for a variance, because part of the rear of the house is in the township.
In the city.
Well, he's saying the township.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, part of it's in
Part
the
of it's in
township.
the
and
township.
So,
Yes.
and part of it is
Part of
in
the rear
the
is
village,
in-
but,
Yep.
I think
To a water line, that's a state law, isn't it?
where the addition is,
Enrollment of-
the rear
enrollment of
yard
township or
where
state?
the addition is located that's in the village.
right.
Excuse me, the city.
City of the village,
City of the village.
their fault.
I know.
It's both.
Do you guys get to vote?
No.
No.
No, it's where
No,
your
it's-
You don't have a
bedrooms,
house.
where your bedrooms are.
Yeah.
Do you get to pay taxes there?
Yes.
Our bedroom's in both
The-
places, so it's not.
These kind of situations drive assessors
Supposed to be.
crazy.
Representation?
Well, yeah, that's what I
Without tax-
thought, but we
tax
looked into
without-
it and found you can actually only vote in one municipality.
Sure.
So
okay.
you have to pick one, and apparently that was picked for us, which is
Rear
fine.
yard variance,
Well, we're thrilled to have you.
feel like talk to.
Okay, any other questions or thoughts?
Well, I have this concern, but I think it's canceled out by some of what we learned yesterday, and that is, the way this is stated, at least in part, is that it is personal in nature because of the illness and the desire to be able to consolidate on one floor. In our training session yesterday, though, there was an illusion, and I began some research, but didn't have time to do it all, that for us to deny it on that basis could be a violation of civil rights and disability. So I think it kind of cancels one another out. If we hit this again, I'll have to take a deeper dive.
You mean having a potential wheelchair access
Because
versus
it-
not?
Well, because the application says we're doing this because of this disability, that then becomes, it's not about the property, it becomes personal in nature. And arguably then self-created as well. But I think that's canceled out by the fact that if we were to rule on that basis, that I'm sorry, you can't have this because it's personal in nature because of your disability, we could be in violation of the federal law.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct.
Huh?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
You've seen circumstances like that with, handicap accessibility ramps, that are invariably, structures in a front yard setback, and there's been cases where, the Americans with Disability Act supersedes,
Those type
local
of
zoning
setbacks.
authority in those cases.
That makes sense. I think beyond that, and I think that's aptly stated, this particular lot, and Mr. Hayward pointed this out, it essentially is respectful to the existing structure. It has a modest addition to the house. It doesn't extend further in the backyard. It actually recedes a little bit in the front yard. It's got a very generous side yard because of the nature of the street. So I think it certainly, from our criteria, isn't going to unduly harm the surrounding character of the neighborhood, neighbors' visibility or views or anything like that. I think it meets those portions of our ordinance.
We're just doing the front yard, right?
They're both listed.
We should say both, no?
Well, you know, the rear yard is identified as a variance request because 50 feet is required and the structure is only 40.08. So I'm, you know,
I
I'm
think
not.
we should include it because it's a water line.
If I look at the drawing on slide 116, it's interesting that the 40.08 is a dimensional line that identifies the center line of the creek, but the property line goes beyond that. I don't know if it goes all the way to 50, but it goes beyond that. But I suppose since it was published at 40.08 and 40.08 is identified on the drawing, I don't think it goes all the way to property line, but it actually, in that situation, it would be a less than the maximum variance being requested.
So, and
I don't think this was correct.
and by the time I got to the sixth one, I don't remember what my own notes mean. But was there an existing nonconformity here?
Well, you know, if, you know, indeed, yeah, there definitely was, there's an existing.
Because I think you included or your staff included the nonconformity analysis for us to
Yeah.
go through. So it seems to me we need to touch on that.
Yeah.
But then the question becomes, are we back to the expansion of a
Right,
nonconformity?
I think it's the same question that was raised on the first case,
Right.
or earlier case.
So what is the nonconformity?
Well, the existing nonconformities would be both the front and rear yard setbacks, if indeed the 40.08 is correct, because I think it's just a continuation of the, you know, the existing footprint of the building. So I think in both cases, it's just an extension of the structure along at the same dimension as the existing structure is.
But not further encroaching into the setbacks.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Is that the board's understanding as well?
So the front setback, let's take them one at a time. It looks like the existing least distance, I'll say it, for the greatest setback infringement is 15.2 feet from essentially the corner of the porch to the right-of-way line. Quite a larger distance to the curb, but the right-of-way just happens to be pretty large at that 60 foot. So we're actually not going, if you harken back to one of the earlier cases, there's an existing encroachment and we are less than that in the front. In the back, it's essentially the same as the current building plane and not encroaching any further into it if we go all the way into the village property.
So we're not further encroaching?
I would say that's the case, yes. Kevin, you agree with that?
Yes.
And is there a requirement in this one that the building department needs to make some sort of decision about this?
I'm sorry.
Is there a requirement with respect to this proposal that requires the building department to weigh in? I remember reading that. I've got a note to that effect here, and I don't.
For the natural feature setback, that would be the only case, but,
That must
The
be what it
natural
is.
feature setback requirement is only 25 feet, so no, there wouldn't be an issue there.
Hmm.
And I don't remember reading that with this one, it may be in there. That was the previous one,
That
for
was the
sure.
previous case.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't see that in there.
Yeah, no. No, that's not on this case.
I've got identified here as Laurelton, so. It also says here the existing lot does not meet the required 1,500 square foot lot size for R1A.
Yeah,
So if we're expanding the size, aren't we?
it is a non-conforming lot of record.
So we're not expanding the structure, it's the lot that's the problem. Hmm.
My motion will be pretty short. I'd like to make a motion on case number 6, which is number 26-006 for the acceptance of the front yard setback of 25.5 feet and the rear yard variance of the 40.8 feet to construct the addition to a single-family home based on that this nonconformity is not getting any worse, is actually better than some of the existing nonconformities. And do we expect on such a small addition to have it surveyed? Do we think that that's important?
I think that's become a good habit of this board to include that. I think we can leave that, the actual application of it to the building department, but I think it's important to be consistent on that.
So that would include the final survey of the actual construction.
We have a motion, do we have support? I will support the motion, and I will ask for any discussion.
I just would like to make a point that I think that if this is similar to our last case, we should treat it as such and to deny the application in general and based on the same reason we denied the last one.
Which last one?
The one on Dixie Highway, the Dixie Highway case.
Oh, the earlier one, not
Yes,
the
the
last
earlier
one.
case, yes, I'm sorry. Case, was it 26003?
And what's that, what's the rationale?
I don't believe they need a variance because they're not expanding a non-conforming, they're not adding to the non-conformity of the existing structure. What they're doing doesn't increase the non-conformity.
Aren't they still getting closer to the setbacks than they're supposed to? Isn't that why a variance is required?
Say that again?
These screens on these things, I'm gonna start bringing my own computer, because I get to see about 3 inches. And I can't see what I need to see, but I think that the variances are required because they're still, it may not be increasing the nonconformity of the structure, but they're still getting closer to the, what is it, side yard and front yard than they're supposed to be. Right?
On the front yard, they're actually behind the already existing non-conformity. And I believe they are on the rear yard as
So
well.
why are they requiring a variance?
Well, that becomes the question.
I don't understand why we're getting variances applied to us when,
What,
is that your understanding, Mr. Carlisle, that this is merely another interpretation?
I think that's exactly what the circumstance is, that, you know,
So that may be the reference that I have in my notes, that the building department was supposed to weigh in on this. No?
Okay. Well,
Is
no,
it?
yeah, well, I mean, basically using the same principle that you used in the previous case. And again, the reason that both of these cases were sent to you, because in the determination of the building and planning department, they were not interpreting, they were interpreting these things to be an expansion of an existing nonconformity, okay, regardless of the setback issues, okay? Existing nonconforming structure and it's expanding. If you disagree with that.
I'm just confused. It's not a
Yeah.
matter of disagreeing.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we're having variance requests come to us when it's supposed to be just an interpretation.
Well,
And
I think it's
Huh?
a fair question, and one that I will take back, I will take back.
so,
I don't think it's inconsistent with what's happened in the past. It's
Well,
an
but-
interesting, I don't disagree with where we're at and saying, hey, this is just an expansion of an already existing variance. I get that. I don't think it's wrong or not consistent with recent past practice for this to come to us. I think what we've evolved here tonight is a new question that we haven't asked ourselves in the past, and that is this an expansion of an already approved nonconformity, and therefore, if it's not an expansion, should they be allowed to continue? I don't disagree with that. I think we've talked about that, but I think it's like so many things we've talked about recently, is these are new policies, or at least interpretations of what we're considering or how we're acting, and so I think we're going through a little bit of growing pains of when does it come to us and when does it not. So I think in this particular case, whether we take a motion so that we're consistent in terms of making determination on a published variance request, we can do that. If it tips the scales and says, hey, now we've got to go through the rigor of validating all those standards and we want to do it a different way, frankly, I think that's a little bit of a hiding behind our standards. To me, I think we should arrive at the same answer if the answer is this is a reasonable request, no matter which path we go down, if we're worried about meeting those
But the
standards.
request is for a variance.
Correct.
Not for an interpretation. So if it's a reasonable request, we should be granting the variance, not making an interpretation. And part of my confusion is that by the consultants, I'm given 2 worksheets to work through, to analyze this, rather than the notion that this is the problem to solve. Instead, I'm being told I've got to do a variance analysis. Now, is it the case that it's a front yard and that there is existing nonconformity in the sense that there's encroachments already into the front yard setback and the rear yard setback, and they're just expanding sideways?
Yeah. That's an extension of an existing nonconformity, which is, I think, the question is, is it an expansion of an existing nonconformity? Which I think is a debatable question.
And it's a great debate.
Well, but based on 1302, if it meant that the structure, it would say the structure, right?
Yeah.
It just says an expansion of the existing nonconformity.
No, it says structure.
Pardon me?
It says structure. 1302 says no such non-conforming structure may be enlarged or altered.
I'm sorry, I meant the other way around.
Oh, okay. In a way that it increases its non-conformity.
Its nonconformity,
Yeah.
which increases, well, I would say, increases the nonconformity of the structure. And it doesn't do that.
It doesn't say you can't increase the
I guess it's
structure, it just can't, you can't increase the
My confusion
nonconformity.
arises.
You
out
can't
of the-
increase the
My
nonconformity.
confusion arises out of the way it's presented to us.
Yeah.
And, I went through all the effort of doing the analysis, because that's what's presented to me that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Without any indication that it's merely an interpretation.
Well,
And yet, we learned yesterday, and we knew
I
before,
have a
that
question.
under the ordinance, we have the authority to make an interpretation, so I'm not, it's not you.
no, I understand.
I don't understand why it's being
I
presented to
understand.
us.
And
in
again,
that.
this is useful, it's useful
Feedback.
for me to take back,
But
and
I have a question for you, Neil. If we go down that path, is it your thought that the building department should confirm by asking us to do an interpretation? Or do you think the building department should just handle it? Because, and I'm assuming there is an exception.
No, I can answer you real easily. If they want us to interpret it, we have the authority to do that. They should send it to us in its interpretation.
But in this
Not as
case,
not as a variance request.
understand. In this case, do you think they should send it to us with an interpretation, or do you think they should just deal with it? Interpret it themselves?
My-
No,
my-
No.
I'm answering your question, but I'll answer it again. If they are unclear about how to
If
read
they're unclear.
something, and they want interpretation,
Okay.
they should send it to us as an interpretation, and not send it to us at a set of variances.
I'm following you now, yes.
And
And to have the consultants then not say, neither the building department or the consultant said to us, this is really just an interpretation, we're presenting it to you as variances. And to add on to that, we get the worksheets for, these new worksheets.
Got it?
Yeah.
So I'll say this, that in the 10 or 11 years I've been on the zoning board, these are the first two cases that we've interpreted. We've never had an interpretation case. Doesn't mean that some of the previous cases probably
Shouldn't
couldn't
have
have
been.
followed under this same thing, but it's not a normal checkbox that you would see at the counter and say, oh, that's an interpretation. So this is a new discussion that I think is warranted and worth saving, but it's unique. It's new from that point of view. But I think it's really valid, and it probably empowers the Dave's department to have some interpretation, and when they have questions, send it to us for that interpretation. I agree with you.
Understand, I'm not being critical in the sense, I'm trying to explain my confusion.
sure.
I think it's warranted. And I think it's part of this new rigor that we're looking at it with. But it's an unusual, we've had, I think, out of 6 cases, we've had at least 3, if not 4, that are non-conforming, which are confusing on their own. And then at least 2 or 3 of them are interpretations of that non-conformity. So it's, if we do this again, we're gonna have some beer during this meeting.
So,
It's rigorous.
which way,
Beer may not be
which
strong
way are we
enough.
going down? Just to, what was the term?
You have a motion
Decline the
on the floor.
acceptance?
Deny the application.
Deny the
But
application?
you have
We still
already have
have
a
a
motion
motion.
on the floor to approve the application.
Motion that's been accepted, or been seconded, to approve the variances with survey or verification for the reasons stated that it does not expand, I believe I'm paraphrasing your motion, correct me where I'm wrong, does not expand the nonconformities or the front or rear yard setbacks. That's the motion on the floor. It's been seconded.
Let's see if let me just say, if it's presented as an interpretation, then we don't run into the potential conundrum as well of it's clearly personal in nature the way it's presented to us. And yet,
Yeah.
we'd have a violation of a federal civil rights law. So by doing an interpretation, we don't have that issue. Just as a part of our expanding rigor.
Exactly. No, I think that's, is well said. So, go ahead, David.
I have another question then regarding, because, and this is, the advertisement of this, does it make a difference if they're expanding their house or they're adding a garage?
I don't think that's material.
That's not material as
No.
far as the,
No.
as far as,
Because the dimensional requirements for the setbacks
Okay.
would be the same.
okay.
I will go back and offer the suggestion again. If you believe, to be consistent with your previous decision tonight, if you believe that these do not require a variance because it's simply an expansion of an existing non-conforming setback that's not making the structure any more non-conforming,
It's not increasing it.
not increasing the non-conformity, thank you. It's getting late. Then you should deny the application and be explicit in your reasons for denial so that the building official may proceed to issue a building permit. And I take, all of these comments, to heart here, and I think it's, there's been, as you can know, there's been a lot of changes.
We're also in transition.
Yeah, a lot of
with the way we
transitions that have
staff
gone
this,
on.
and- Yep.
So, it's very fair, questions that you've asked, and good debate too. But to be consistent, if you believe this is the same circumstance as before, you ought to take the same action as you did before.
Okay, so we're gonna go with the same action, so I'll withdraw my motion? Or am I not allowed to do that now?
No, I think you are.
Okay, so I'll withdraw that.
As
and
long as
then-
the second agrees.
And I would
But,
agree.
but then going forward, does that mean that similarly situated requests will not come to us or will come to us?
I would advise, okay, that if the only in circumstances where there is a question as to whether those requirements, whether those same conditions exist, okay? Expansion of a nonconformity, not increasing the nonconformity, then they come before you for interpretation.
I think they should too.
Yeah,
I-
but if there's, but if the building official and zoning administrator make the determination that, and they have in the past, I hate to use the term, but I have to also, advise you that I know what has happened in the past, is that building officials have determined that it does not, and zoning administrators, that it doesn't increase the nonconformity, that it doesn't require a variance. I know that has occurred.
Without coming to the ZBA.
Correct. Now, has there been an absolute consistency in that regard over the 40 years that I've been here? Probably not. And I think anytime that there's a question, they always have the ability to come to you for an advisory interpretation.
I guess I think the default should be that they do, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
It becomes a,
It's like the other authority we have is map interpretation.
Correct.
And I think it kind of smacks of that in a way.
Good, similar analogy, yeah, good analogy, yeah.
so, we do not have a motion on the table. May we have a motion, gentlemen?
I'd like to make a motion to deny the application in the case of number 26-006 for 6628 Lowellton. Because the addition does not increase the nonconformity, the front setback and the rear setback is not being added to, and the side yard setback is outside, not being outside of the ordinance as well. And ordinance 13.02.b states, no such nonconforming structure may be enlarged or altered in a way that increases its nonconformity.
We have a motion, do we have support?
Support?
Any questions or discussion on the motion? May we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely.
Mr. Zurich,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Epic.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So in a strange way, your application has been denied, but with the condition that.
Congratulations, yeah.
That, giving the
Congratulations.
building department, direction that, we're in agreement. We just had to figure out how to get there.
No, I totally
But,
understand, thank you.
Appreciate your time tonight and being number 6. But thank you very much. Dave Moran is in the back, and Benny and his team are here too, so we'll continue to work with you guys.
Thank you.
Does that
Good luck.
mean we don't need to do the second survey?
Aha.
You'll need to do whatever the building official requires you to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Just to ensure that it's within compliance of
Yeah.
the setbacks.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank
you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Can I
much.
say, I just want to say, you guys are impressive.
Appreciate that.
I was very impressed watching you tonight.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's,
I feel impressive.
yeah, I'm not sure that, it seems like we're a
Well,
bit
we're
of
all
a mess,
tired,
but we're working hard to communicate and build a machine here. So thank you.
yeah, I really appreciate how diligent you guys all are, and how careful you are to balance it, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. With that, we are closing and we adjusted our agenda, so we are not discussing the rules and procedures.
I
They
do
were in our
intend,
pa-
I
I'm sorry?
do intend to send off some stuff to Megan. One of my principal concerns as I read through those was that there's a number of things in there that we just simply don't have any authority over. I don't know why anybody would put those in our bylaws. We can only control the things we can control. There's a number of things in there that are up to the township board. So we should be focused on thinking about how it is we operate, and that's what should be in those.
Yeah, I agree. And there's some things that are in there that are already covered in the ordinance. I don't know that it's necessary to be redundant.
But again, when it's in the ordinance, the authority is with the township board, not with us.
Right.
So,
My point with that is they are in our packets. You can download them, you can print them, I can email it to you, Benny can provide it to us. I think it is something that we should continue to move, so even though we're not gonna discuss it, and I think it's just too big to discuss, even if we had a light agenda, it's worth all of us reading it, providing feedback, sending it to Megan and Benny, and they can curate those. I don't know if a finished copy will come back to us, but if we spend, over the next 10 days, getting them feedback, that gives them a month to provide some feedback and give some direction or send out more questions and maybe a revised draft that we can get over.
and if it looks like May is going to be a repeat of this,
Well,
so much for a weak economy.
You
but
already
if-
know?
Pardon me?
You already know?
I
there's a
don't, I
huge-
said, if it looks like.
Oh,
If it looks like we're gonna get a repeat of this, we should be considering a special meeting to deal with these.
We have two applications so far.
so far.
Okay.
And ready, right?
In regard,
And up until now, two's been our max.
in regards to that, did you notice that the chair must be present for all meetings? Is that what I read?
No.
I didn't, I'd have to
I thought I read
check
that.
If it says that, that's not one we need because we have a vice chair. That's the reason you have.
Well, probably means that a chair has to be there. I'd have to double check it.
Yeah, I read it kind of fast, but maybe, I thought the chair.
We'll double check that. But those are all points that we gotta
Right,
look at.
right.
With, not within this packet, but Neil made what I thought was an impressive motion tonight. He's provided, and I don't know if this is ready to share, but it's.
No, you could share with anybody.
Printed copies of both.
Carlisle's office provided us with some suggested motions, and then based on
Back.
what we learned yesterday and I've got it
Yeah,
obviously.
obviously.
And what we learned yesterday and some concerns that I already had and some input that I got from Jim, I prepared this, and that's what I was reading from today.
It's a nice way to stay organized, to stay consistent, and to make sure that we are a combination of the worksheets that Benny and Megan are providing, and then thinking about the motion, it works.
There was something else that came up, and I can send it around, but
This is off your printer?
Yeah.
You have some nice paper. I'm sorry.
in the last case in last night's training,
The very narrow lot?
the very little lots.
Yep.
Yep. you'll remember that they ruled, those are the two lots that got sold to two different people as tax sales. And the ruling was that they didn't have standing, okay? Remember that? That meant that, and standing in a lawsuit is a threshold question. You gotta be an appropriate litigant. Frankly, the township was and should have been challenged and probably should have lost based on that case and some other cases that were in those materials in the Pine Knob case that they didn't have standing. But there's some language there, take a look at it. I read the case today, but it talks about unique harm. So when the neighbors are in here complaining, that's something on a particular variance, that's something we should be looking at and incorporating that into motions as well.
That there are or not.
Right. What the court said in that case was, you're concerned about aesthetics, potentially bad aesthetics, and you're concerned about their sewers being bad. That's all speculation. And you're not showing us any kind of unique harm. And it's not enough just that you're in the neighborhood. And from my statement, I know there's just a recent case out of South Lyme where a township board sued its CBA and lost on the standing question. And when you read the circuit court case, it's no different than the Pine Knob case. So I'm just saying that when I read that yesterday, the three of us were talking, turned to Jim and said, this needs to be handy for us. So when we have neighbors in here saying, you're gonna ruin my neighborhood, they've gotta be very specific, and they can't just be speculating, and we need to hold them to that, and probably need to incorporate it in their motions.
If it's okay with you, Neil, I'll send out, I only printed one copy, either you guys can have it.
I took some excerpts from the case
Jim.
and
May we be excused?
No.
no,
No, I have a question.
All right, we'll keep going.
I was just gonna say, since we have the longest drives,
You
I
do.
think, around.
Well, I had to come back from Ann Arbor yesterday.
Well, it's a long time, yeah.
Anyway, so,
At 9, a quarter.
yeah, it was 8:30. I mean, okay,
He's
a
been
little bit
doing it
later.
for 40
Listen,
years.
The last board meeting didn't get out until almost midnight, so, I've got a lot left in my tank. But anyway, I just wanted to say, if you could, when you take our suggestions, could you show them in the new document, so at least when we get it, we can say, we know who suggested,
Yeah.
you don't remove anything, I just don't want anything, well, I guess I
Redlined, in other
don't,
words.
removed,
Yeah.
just, or redlined or whatever, just so we know that what somebody suggested be changed, that's all.
It was a
You're
pleasure.
talking about in the bylaws?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I'm
right,
sorry,
right.
yes, the bylaw.
because we should not be communicating with one another.
Correct.
No.
Thank you for all your insight tonight. Benny, thank you for joining
Yeah.
the team.
Please send me your training so I can update it in the spreadsheet.
Okay.
You could either send it,
What do you want?
your training that you just did, did you
about
do
it?
training yesterday?
Yeah.
If you could send it to me, so I could
Send
put it,
what?
just like where, it'll say, I sent you that spreadsheet, it'll say like, who provided the training, how long it was.
We got a spreadsheet?
Yes, I emailed it to you.
I'll send it to you. It's this
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheet that said the planning commission and the zoning board are going to track annually continuous education.
We'll track it for you, but I did send one out for you to take a look at, just so you
I think
get the
simply
layout.
yesterday,
Well, with respect to continuing education, and there was a requirement in there, I don't think it's necessary for us to keep doing what we did yesterday over and over again every year or every other year. I think if there's something new that comes up, the training should come from the consultant's office about, here's some new stuff.
well, we'll take that up.
Yeah.
We'll take that up at the board.
Yeah.
Benny's just doing what he's being asked to do, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out what that continuing means, but in the meantime, we'll send you our
Yeah.
photocopies
appreciate
of
it.
our certificates.
You want the certificate?
Just the date, the month and year.
Because I
yeah.
already use that for target practice.
Yeah.
That's long run.
I'm having mine framed.
Are you?
Anyways, we still have an open meeting. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
I sent out, based on your request, from that case with Evie Road, Kelly's firm did a heck of a job going through it in terms of conforming, non-conforming, has to do with lot structure. Read that again. I'm sure that Dick or Dan would answer any questions for us. the reality is our township has an awful lot of non-conforming lots. And I think we're all doing a better job, but I know me personally can understand that section 13 better. This helps you do it. It helps you discern between structure, lot, and use. But that's worth reading. They talked about, I talked in my email about entering information into the record after the fact. According to Kelly, we're not supposed to be doing that, so I don't think we have in the past. We probably won't do it going forward. Other than that, I've got another discussion. Anything else from you guys?
Have a good day.
With that,
Move to adjourn.
motion to adjourn, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you. Okay.